This is ours, the new Lexus IS. All in on the sports sedan. Experience amazing at your Lexus dealer.
It's going to be a 1v3. Bait picks up 1 and 2 for the round win for Dallas Vendetta.
Yeah, it did look, I wouldn't say good, but things were somewhat promising for Team Boosted. It was, I believe, only a 3-on-3. There were no nitros on the side of Dallas Vendetta. And the only one that found any purchase was onto Fever, who at that point was already dead. So there was still a lot for Team Boosted, rather, to work with there. So they were unable to make it work regardless. And now we'll go, as a result, we'll be going back to Aviator Games. It is a Mute Mozzie setup. Again, another slow play from Dallas Vendetta that we saw the last time. But I'm interested to see if Jaiko will be playing on these back stairs, on these red stairs, because we've seen a lot of similar play on the front side of things, as there would be that little hole. I'm not really sure what to call that wall, but it would be in like that classical front panel of the classical hallway and closest to the main stairs, basically. There would be a hole in that panel, and you'd have the smoke playing on top of a shield there. And we're kind of seeing something similar to that Dallas Vendetta is running, but it's more focused on this bedroom push that a lot of teams are starting to pick up more on. Rather than trying to force their way in on top of this smoke and the very small positional advantage that study itself provides, they're opting into a lot more positional control in bedroom and that side of things. And for whatever reason, Navi is in the basement, which it does disappoint me a bit that this area is not very much used. But again, there's like no reason to be there.
There isn't. It's basically like a kill box for whoever wins it. It's like a deathmatch circle. It really is, because it literally serves no purpose, because I think there is a site, or there at least was a site there. I'm not sure if it's a secure area or not. But yes, at one point I know there's a site there, and it was used, but it just has nothing anymore. There's literally nothing to come of it. But speaking of nothing to come of it, we got Cash. He unfortunately gets killed before he can make any impact on the round. And again, that's important because Nomad is extremely huge for setting up crossfires in your post-plant scenarios, and even just shutting down flank denial, which we know Team Boosted isn't necessarily the best at. And while I say that, Jaiko is going to be going down to, unfortunately, Navi, who's moving up the stairs very quickly, very fast, and indeed out for blood.
Well, I guess we were wrong. Wow, excuse me. I guess we were wrong in that Navi was able to make that basement push work and come up from behind Jaiko there. Trying to break this 3-round streak that Dallas Vendetta is looking to extend as we head down to the final minute. There's still a lot of aggressive, powerful guns on the attacking side. AK-12, M762 on the Zofia, the Ash's R4C, and there's not very hard-hitting weapons on the side of Dallas Vendetta. As one of those not really hard-hitting weapons is trying to duel out with the Ash. PK is not going to get the better of him, as it is Goenny. Could not be able to finish off his kill without the pistol, interestingly enough. Missing out on a lot of shots. Is Fond jumping out of study, crazily enough, rather. He's going to get a third for himself as he finishes off Goenny, and it's a 2-on-3, regardless of what the little indicator at the top of the screen says. Navi will also go down to bait as the 81 is starting to rip apart the attacking side. Dallas Vendetta will hold off the attack despite it looking a bit iffy. Bait was not finished off by the ace, and it will end up in a 2-piece for him and a 3-piece for Fond.
Yeah, lots and lots of doubles and triples and just combo kills going down for Dallas Vendetta. I think really it's a result of refrag-heavy gameplay. I think Fawn should not have been allowed that, and I know you were very audibly surprised by Fawn being able to capture those kills because crossfires were not strong. They definitely were not strong. The refrag ability was not strong for the attacking team, to say the very least. That's to put it lightly. And I just think overall Team Boosted had a very inconsistent and lackluster performance that round. There's genuinely no other way to put it. I think the motivation right now for them is just going down, 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 because 0-4 is not it's not something you want. I mean, yeah, maybe 4-2 by the time that you hit your defense rounds on a more defense-sided map, but 0-4 on Villa out of all maps is definitely not the scoreline that you're gonna want. It kind of is inducive of more of a stomp that's gonna happen, like we saw the previous game with Black Mamba and, what was it? StrikeX, that's what it was, but overall, I think Team Boosted, they're gonna need to switch a lot of things up, and they're just gonna have to overall be more aggressive and not cause so much collateral. It's really just down to winning your ones, and you can't let simple positioning, or even just, you know, half-baked positioning from the defense catch you so off guard.
Yeah, it is very tough so far looking at how Boosted has been playing this, just because they have good fundamentals clearly, and as you can see, they are not able to work on the shooting part as much. Crispy outgunning 2 players, Go Any and Fever there together as again, like I was saying just before that happened, good fundamentals. They're working together with the drone. They're swinging together. It was Go Any swinging shorter than Fever swung. And that's really how you do these to ensure a trade. It just happens that there was no trade. It was Go Any losing his head within an instant. And then Fever not getting anything, actually. Crispy is still full health. So there's good base for Boosted here. But it is just... they have all the pieces, really. The pieces are just not working out in the way that they are anticipating them to, as almost Jaiko will lose his head. Taco's going to get some fire returned back on him. But again, there's just a lot of control here for Boosted. They're just not able to convert it, it seems. Jaiko has taken a lot of HP, or lost a lot of HP, and there's not really much coming from that. Like, I'm not sure where Boosted is trying to go from here, because they're letting the ace solo push with this last minute of the round.
I think at this point it's not quite a done deal, I would say, but it's not looking all too good for Team Boosted, the way that they're moving in this round. But as I say that, Caster's Curse Fond is going to go down. 30 seconds left, right? They don't really have a plan. They're kind of scattered right now. They're a little bit disorganized, and it's just going to have to be them swinging in, mechanically playing this to their best advantage. Although, they're not extremely good at that. I think Dallas Vendetta definitely has the upper hand when it comes to that. But one thing we know Team Boosted is good at is getting down the plant, which is exactly what they're gonna do. So now we get thrusted once again into that post-plant scenario where Team Boosted is gonna have to show off their skills. And mechanical ones at that. You got Navi finding their shot off on Crispy. A very predicted run out, and a one that was shut down very instantaneously. So moving out once again, trying his hand at it is gonna be Jaiko, but once again getting shut down by the hands of Navi. And like you have it, or like you were saying, it's boom. There you go. It's there. It's there.
Well,
it's fundamentals. Fundamentals, that's what I meant to say. Fundamentals are there, and I like how they used it. I liked how they played to their advantages. I know I'm kind of cutting them off here. I wanted to say this. You're right. They have very important fundamentals, but I feel like in the previous, 4 rounds that we had seen, it just pales in comparison to the skill register of DV. Like, they hadn't been using their, their advantageous fundamentals or,
This phone paired with 5G ultra wideband, wow.
The new Samsung Galaxy S21 is on Verizon 5G ultra wideband, available in parts of many cities.
It's ridiculously fast.
Buy Samsung Galaxy S21 plus 5G. Get one on us. Only on Verizon.
Using their strengths to their advantage and exploiting the weaknesses of DV. I think, DV doesn't necessarily know how to deal with super calculated aggression, but Team Boosted, they're playing super methodical, and they're kind of stagnating, staying back, almost in a way to express their hesitation on attacking Dallas. And, I mean, who wouldn't be, right? They're down 4-0 in that scenario, but I like that they did come together at the end. They got the plant off, which is what they knew how to do, and they worked their angles, like we had been talking about. They worked their crossfires, they worked their mechanical skill, and they shaped it out to be a very good round. I know, I stole your thunder. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. It was very interesting the way that Dallas Vendetta opted into that late round. They were very much trying to play the way that Boosted was playing. It was very much like one-on-one gunfights, and it was very weird how they opted into it. But all in all, the first round goes the way of Team Boosted, as Dallas Vendetta is playing an interesting hold this time through. They're testing more of a horizontal hold, something that teams have tried in the past, but hasn't really worked out as well. But they will be getting rid of the usual play for Dining Kitchen. I like to call just the minefield strat. You bring Pulse, you bring 3 other C4s, usually like a Valkyrie and a Mute, and as of late a Melusi, and you just play like the floor is lava, or the attackers have to play the floor is lava, because anywhere they go, a nitro will go off. That nitro from PK missed out. It was late on the breaching charge, but this defense is opted more in favor of a horizontal hold, with, interestingly, an Oryx in play from Crispy. And while Team Boosted is getting a lot of control and pressure upstairs, Jaiko is holding things down in the middle floor here, as he picks up Fever for his 5th death, rather, for Jaiko's 7th kill, which is currently on top of the match. And all told, with a minute 15 left, Team Boosted does not have control for what Dallas Vendetta handed them.
I think you're totally right here, as Navi gets that kill. With the fact that, I think that this strategy, it does work very well with horizontal holds, but Team Boosted, they opted for a vertical play. See, the issue here, which is why they're not able to get the objective in their control, is the simple matter that it's really hard for Team Boosted, especially being the team that they are, methodical and all, to turn their, vertical play into a horizontal execute. It could be very hard for them because of the fact that they're not used to and are extremely uncomfortable with getting super aggressive. And right now you have right here proof positive, right? It's 3 players down for Team Boosted, mind you 4, as another player goes down. That's going to be Cash to leave Taco left up on the board. So 1v2, he gets in the objective but finds no luck, as Vaughn captures that kill and finishes out the round for Dallas Vendetta's win. A round win.
It's very funny. I just noticed. I was wondering how Crispy possibly got into such a convenient spot up top behind, I believe, Navi, or maybe it was Cash. Regardless of who it was, he got in a very convenient spot behind him, at which point I realized, for the first time, and I don't know how many, very few rounds that I've seen the operator, I saw the first time, as I can't remember his name, all of a sudden.
Zero?
Oryx.
Oh.
The first time that I've seen an Oryx jump actually work out. He jumped up the laundry hatch, I just realized, to get into such a convenient spot behind Navi, and was able to get the kill there. So, that's very interesting to see. But, off of you now, yeah, we are seeing Zero. Not really an operator that has found his niche yet as of late. A lot of attacking lineups are pretty much this. It is Ace, Zofia, Ashe, and then your 2 flex is some mix of Sledge, Thatcher, Hibana, maybe Thermite, or the 5th one is Nomad. There we go. So it's a very stagnant attacking lineup between the same 9 or 10 operators. And Zero, just without his nades now, doesn't bring the same amount to the table. He's not as strong, despite bringing such a powerful gun in that SC3000K or whatever it is. It's some weird string of letters and numbers. Despite bringing one of the best guns in the game, that doesn't really afford you all that much. The good news about Villa is there's so many wonky light fixtures and cabinets and bookcases and art pieces and who knows what, where you can snag those little cameras and hide them in somewhere and be able to sneak them around. So that is Zero's strength on this map, but that obviously doesn't translate elsewhere. And so I, in general, am happy to see him and see where PK is tossing these cameras. But otherwise, it definitely still feels like the spot would be better filled by something like a Nomad.
To bounce off you, I think that you're right and you're wrong. I like that whole idea about Nomad. Yes.
How
Nomad
dare you
would
tell me I'm
definitely-
wrong? How dare you straight up tell me I am wrong?
You are wrong. You're objectively wrong. No.
I'll take it.
I know. I think that Nomad definitely could fill the spot much better than Zero, right? Because she objectively has a better, ability. She does. It's in your face, direct sound ping, and it gives you intel, and it's all of that, right? But I also think that Zero, with a hard breach charge to his name, gives him so much value. Yes, he doesn't have frags, but he also has something that is pretty important to this, especially map and team composition, because, there's a lot of hard breachable walls, and because in the case that bait does go down, you still have somebody else to fall back on. Plus, you got intel, which is something that Team Boosted and now Dallas Vendetta are in dire need of. Speaking of dire need, it looks like the players are going to be falling on the side of Team Boosted, unfortunate as it is. They're in dire need of kills at the moment. So, Crispy, he's the only player that will be going down in terms of collateral. Now, Fond, unfortunately, as Navi picks up the frag for that, putting us to a 3v3.
A bomb has been located.
Yeah, not bad spot for Boosted, all things considered. 2 on 3 now, with 15 seconds to go, is actually pretty rough. The ace will almost be shot down, but not before he actually swings through, and is able to get the plant down, now starting at the pool table after finding the body, I believe, of Navi. It's just up to Goenny, who started out a little bit hot today, but has since cooled off hard, and it will be PK to finish things off, confirming our 6th round for Dallas Vendetta, and meaning Team Boosted is going to need to pick it up big time in these following 5 rounds if they even want a shot at winning this one. Dallas Vendetta up 6-1 has confirmed overtime, and I just don't think TB can really swing together 5 rounds in a row. That is a hard feat for any team. And again, we've just seen Dallas Vendetta working so well, so fluidly as a team. They have all the pieces and they've put the pieces together, whereas TB has the pieces, like we said, they're just they're a little slow to make it work. And I think they've got a really, like I said, again, they've got a really good foundation. It's just a bit tough.
It's like in a jigsaw puzzle where they're trying to, or I'll put it this way, it's like when you have that, I don't know if you're younger, when you use that little, like, like the peg holes and the round holes and the square
holes. Oh, like the
holes
shapes in the holes?
Yeah, it's like, it's trying to...
I'ma get right in my bag. Why you gonna try to get mad? Everybody wanna keep up. Don't you know I move too fast? I'ma zip right past. Drip all on my swag. Why you trying to size me up? You don't wanna try your luck. Hot as a stove, what did you know? Burn like coal, yeah, you know I go. Way too hot, yeah, really too cold. I'ma keep going till I hit my goals. Better get back when I'm in my zone. Do it for the ones that I know back home. Did it myself, they ain't put me on. But you go back if you hear that.
Are you looking for a new way to make up to $700 this month and help save lives? Donate plasma and make up to $700 this month at CSL Plasma.
This has got the steak and the sizzle.
The tots on this are just crispy and they're flavorful.
This will keep you out of my tots.
Sonic Extra Long Ultimate Cheesesteaks. Yeah, this might keep me out of your tots.
To fit like a square in a triangle hole and just trying to jam it in as hard as you can, but it's not working. And like they keep on trying it and they keep on trying it. And it's still giving you the same result. By the way, side note, definition of insanity is trying something, expecting different results, but it's gonna give you the same exact results. And I think that's really just team boosting right there, right now. You know, they're gonna try to go back to the same exact objectives, try the same exact attacks, and it just isn't, it's not connecting. It's not doing good by them. You're right, I think they have mechanical ability, I think they have, you know, fundamental skills needed to have a T3 team, but they just don't have those higher level critical skills that you need, especially to win in Villa, especially to win against Dallas Vendetta, which is a very established T3 team, might I add.
Yep. Well, away from that, 2 kills are going to go the way of Boosted really quickly. At least the high fragging Vigil is down, but in their place, that was Zofia and Crispy similarly down. As PK almost messed that one up, as now GoAny is losing a lot of HP. He's taken down Bait in the meantime, though. Very messy exchanges on both sides, and somehow in favor of Team Boosted, though GoAny is limping away at this point. It is still a 3-on-2, and PK is on half HP. There's still a lot of setup here for Team Boosted. There's still a shield in play. There's still a lot of Malusis in play, as well as I should assume a good number of ADSs to help deny any shield destruction. Not to mention there's a single drone in play. Just kidding. It was just shot out. So any drones that are out are flank drones purely or just side drones. At least Jaiko will find a nice nade from below to secure double digits. The second one, sorry, in the round, or in this map. As it is now a 2-on-2, and things might have just swung in favor of Boosted, in Vendetta's favor, in fact. GoAny's on lower HP than PK. I believe he's one shot, really, from either of these rifles. And a 2-bullet burst from that very fast-firing SMG-11. Study cam very quickly there. You just saw from PK is going to get shot out just as quickly as it was placed. Now GoAny is playing bullet holes, but he will be down, in fact, from Jaiko. Getting a bit too greedy, missing that first shot. Ends his life. PK not going to be taken out, as Cash is also not going to kill anything yet until he finds Jaiko and PK for the 1v2. That was weird. That whole thing was messy. The Nitro didn't kill anyone. And that was
big.
That was a
big.
fight.
That was big for Team Boosted to keep them in the runnings of this match in our best of one. They're gonna give us a 2-6 scoreline, but yeah, I can't do anything but agree with you. That was chaotic, to say the very least. I think that Zero should have got off of the plant as soon as he possibly could, especially knowing that PK was gonna swing that. But I mean, hey, what can you do? What can you do at this point? There is really nothing to do. It's just reflecting on past events that unfortunately cannot be changed. And I am definitely not a comp player, so I wouldn't even be able to talk in this situation. But overall, and I've been saying this a lot, looking at that overarching round, a lot of frags were made in the way of Team Boosted. I mean, they changed things up. The sad part about them changing things up, it is, they're so deep down in the hole that even changing things right now isn't necessarily going to fix their round deficit. Not only that, but it really isn't going to change anything if Dallas Vendetta are able to adapt to what Team Boosted just did there. I mean, we now know that Team Boosted is going to be going on to Trophy Statuary, but how does that change things for this round? Well, Dallas Vendetta, we know that they're, a pretty methodical team as well, but I think they do really have an aggressive and mostly mechanical side to them that can be brought out, especially on Trophy and Statuary, where it's gonna count, right? Because this is our match point round yet again, and I think there's going to be a lot to do with roam clear as well. I mean, you got at least one player, what I'm looking at currently on roam clear. Most likely more, especially towards the side of AVG, so gotta keep up for that during the round.
Yeah. It also does feel like a more aggressive lineup from Boosted this round, so that is, like you were saying, what was successful for them last time through. That aggression was very good, and it did seem like Vendetta struggled against it. I mean, granted, the round did end up being a 1v2 for Boosted, but, I mean, that aggression worked out in their favor. This time, not so much, as Fond will also find a head, backing up Crispy's opening frag. And we may just see the beginning of the end at this point. The roam has crumbled for Boosted here. All that was taken was just over half of Fawn's HP. In the meantime, Goenny has not found much here. And it's just really Cash and Taco on the roam. Or on the back on site, rather. So things are a bit tough going for Boosted, as they'll really need a Hail Mary just to keep themselves in this one, in this 3-on-5.
Hail Mary is a bit of an understatement here, as you got the full force of Dallas Vendetta right on your heels, and they're coming. They're going to be coming for us. They're about to be sub 1 minute, and this is going to look like a very heated round, especially towards the end where the execute is going to be going off. And I think Dallas Vendetta, as methodical of a team as they are, they're going to have to pull an extremely aggressive and mechanical execute to give us one last hoorah in a 3v5 scenario. Now we got utilities going to be thrust towards the objective as Bait picks up one of the 3 players. Goenny's going to go down to the hands of the AK-12 bearer. And you got 2v5 now. Cash and Taco respectively sitting in their own objectives. Cash is going to be taken away from the round. Taco, last player left up alive, but it's Dallas Vendetta to clean it out. And to give us a flawless round for the end of this match.
Yep. Double 7-2s on the day. It turns out that very strong defensive starts will end up prevailing in favor of the team that started that way. So double 5-1 defense halves end up in double 7-2 games. I believe most of the day, looking back at my stuff, we only saw 3 rounds not go the way of the team that got the opening frag across both matches. So 18 rounds, 15 of which went the way of the team that started things off. So it definitely showed that all these teams today, when ahead, they were able to make it happen. And when behind, it was very hard to make a round work. But with that being said, the map we just saw, that was just Dallas Vendetta all over Team Boosted. And I know at the start we were definitely talking that it was probably favored for Vendetta. They had a very tough match last week. They played against Ariel. Ariel Arise is arguably for a lot of people the best team in Tier 3. So obviously you're going to have a very tough game up against them there. But to come back from that and win as decisively as they did is definitely a really good morale booster, I'd say, for Dallas here.
Oh yeah. Puts them at a 1-1 score line in the entire league. So it's going to be pretty good for them. Moving on to their next match, which I'm not sure what it's going to be, but we're going to have to watch out for that. Otherwise, though, I think this was a pretty good match. 7-2 is a scoreline that is very desirable, especially on an extremely varied map that can go relatively either way, attack or defense sided. I think Villa is one of those maps that can either be balanced or entirely unbalanced. It's depending on the meta quite a lot. I think more so normally it's usually defense sided, but as of late it's been a lot more attack sided than we'd like to admit. And that really plays into the hands of Dallas Vendetta, especially on the last portion of the game when they were attacking. Although it was team boosted, I think that was able to pick up one or two rounds from them, but it really didn't make too much of a lasting impact. It was team.
Hello and welcome to this Upsurge Esports broadcast of the Midwest Esports Conference. Today's game is going to be Purdue Northwest versus Grandview University. I am your play-by-play Marxist, joined here by Nightstar. Nightstar, I'm excited for this one. Excited to have you on the booth with me, and we're ready to move into this one. How you feeling today?
You know, it is our first time casting, so I'm very excited. So always a new experience. Gotta look forward to that, and we've got some college teams at it tonight, so that's always exciting too. Just trying to look at what these colleges bring to the CLOL table. So I'm very, very excited for tonight.
Yeah, it should be a good one, and we have a couple of games on the slate here for you guys, a couple of different series that we're going to be casting, and this first slate is looking like a pretty good one. There's a lot of really contested picks that we're looking at, and as we move into this draft shortly, we're going to see that for sure. But who would be a player to watch for each of these teams, in your opinion?
Yeah, I mean, so our first matchup is going to be Grandview University taking on Purdue University Northwest. Not to be mistaken for Purdue University, but they do still exist in the same state. So, you know, it still has that going for them. Over on the side of Grandview, I mean, this is one of the powerhouse orgs uh, as far as the Midwest goes. So, very, very excited. Up and down the board, you can't really knock them too hard on any of these players. Also one of our UPL teams. So all of these players definitely something to look out for. But in particular, Kulthro, love the man. He was also one of the first people to bring out Udyr at the amateur level. I believe he brought it out the day after Pioshik brought it out over in LCK. So, you know, that's how I remember him.
Yeah, he is definitely known for that Udyr. He's actually known for two champions that involve deers, Udyr and that Lilia. Two champions that he is really, really proficient on. We're going to see a lot of pressure on those two picks as we move into this one. But if we look over across the way, we kind of have an underdog story with Purdue Northwest. They are a UML team going up against a UPL team, which for those of you that aren't aware, there's as far as ranks are concerned, there's a significant disparity between the two teams. But that being said, let's not count Purdue Northwest out. They have a couple of really, really strong players in Latents and Toponer. Toponer over there in the AD carry position has an incredibly good Aphelios. And if that champion gets through for him, he can be really, really dangerous.
Yeah, I'm very interested as far as what they end up using for a lot of their drafts, just to sort of compensate um, for the perceived rank difference if they decide to go for something super aggro early on to just try and snowball the game, maybe hard focus the lane, the Talia Pantheon combination, Talia Renekton. Very early game focus on just trying to pick a lane, get 5 kills into it, and just win from there. Or if they go for a heavy scaling composition, because maybe you just put all the eggs into the Poner baskets and have him scale up, let him try and just 1v9 some fights. Not necessarily 1v9, but you get the point. And maybe go for something like a double enchanter composition, because enchanters are incredibly powerful at the moment. So I hope to see some of those. But Rel also a very, very fun champion to watch now that it's actually finding its way into the meta.
Yeah, Rel was kind of one of those picks that was a fringe. It was just like, oh man, I don't really know about this one.
Uh-huh.
She received a couple of adjustments, couple of minor adjustments, and 2 patches in a row. All of a sudden, she's just jumped into prominence all over the meta. She's really good into these engaged supports like Leona, Thresh, Alistar. Does a really good job of providing that engage and that peel for any AD carry, as well as giving them a lot of extra armor and stats. So that is something to look out for. We're going to be looking out for an Alistar pick too. Between these two teams is a pretty contested support, and these guys really love to roam all over the map as far as both of these bot lanes are concerned. And I'm excited to see something come out of that as well.
Yeah, and that's one of the things with Alistar is that it just allows you to roam a lot more easily. It also empowers your support to make these engages around objectives. Um, it as we are about to head into draft so we'll see how many of these things end up that we talked about pre-draft end up showing up now, as it looks like Purdue, they will be over on the blue side for this game. In that case, we're looking at maybe some sort of AD carry priority, or perhaps just grab the Udyr, take it away from Grandview, and give you that early game pressure point that would allow you to perhaps snowball through the rest of the game.
Yeah, and Koskinen has been playing a little bit of Seraphine here in solo duo. I know that that's a pick that Shuki enjoys as well. So we'll see if that gets through the draft. Nope, that's going to be the first ban. So
yeah,
there goes that idea.
Yeah, Seraphine, completely understandable. It's just such a flexible pick, yet also just absolutely busted. Doesn't really have any bad matchups in the mid lane, or nothing that can absolutely dumpster her, which is always an issue if you're playing some sort of enchanter mid. If you can get away with scaling, hitting 2 items for free, then you definitely take that every single time, as we see a Senna in response here. Senna also a pick that has gained some prominence in that bottom lane. Of course, has flex potential, but also just really nice range to deal with some of the current AD carry champions.
Yeah, and there's also a build for Senna currently that is, as FSN Saber has put it, Kaisa level abusable, which is going from Kraken Slayer into that Ginsu's Rage Blade. Gives her so much added damage and true damage. It's really just absurd how much that champion has burst into the meta.
Yeah, and it really plays off of the fact that you convert your crit modifier into more damage, and as Senna players know, being able to get souls means you get more crit, so it works very well in tandem, and it also just lets her auto attack almost like a regular AD carry. You ramp up the attack speed, and it feels like you can actually auto Whereas before, you were definitely you had to be very careful with each and every auto.
Yeah, every auto kind of felt like a spell cast almost. You know, you're just kind of waiting for it to happen. It looks like we're gonna get our first pick here as Udyr, Pantheon, and Ivern have been banned out as well. So a few jungle picks, a few flex picks getting banned out. The Karma is getting hovered, which is a really nice flex pick for them. That's gonna get locked in.
So Karma ends up being that first pick here. Really nice B1 because it leaves a lot of things open-ended, allows you to throw it into the mid lane to just try and get extra roam pressure. You can throw it top side as a neutralizing pick, or you can throw it into the support to just allow you to continue to control the wave down bottom lane, and that allows you to try and get priority bot side to snowball into dragons or just invade pressure. We see the answer come out from Grandview. They go ahead, lock themselves in the Philios and perhaps the Nidalee. So Cultural not going to be denied an early game jungler here as he goes straight onto the Kitty Cat.
Yeah, and on top of that, they have a nice takeaway for Lobos here on that Aphelios. As I said in going into this, that's a really, really big pick for Purdue Northwest. It's a very prominent pick in a lot of their drafts, and it's a really good takeaway. I really want to see what they're going to pair with this Nidalee, though. I'm curious as to where that's going to end up.
Yeah, we'll see if there's some sort of early game champion that he can really play around. Maybe a Renekton in a top side, or perhaps a Camille. Just some sort of champion that has easy setup. As we see Hecarim locked in, so we've got the Pony Express with the Hecarim Karma duo, and then we have the Kai'Sa, who is going to be ready to jump into those into the backline if possible. Although it's hard to say taking a Kai'Sa into Aphelios is really the best play.
Yeah, especially because Aphelios, when he starts out with that sniper rifle, that Calibrum, it's really hard for the Kai'Sa to walk up and get that farm in the early levels. She's just completely outranged at that point. But we see a TF locked in for Grandview as well. So a nice setup for this Nidalee. You got a point and click stun. Nidalee can hit the spear as follow-up. And it's just a really, really nice gank setup for her. So great pick there.
Yeah, Koskinen able to lock that for himself. Just really enabled the mid game really here, being able to add a bunch of roam pressure. Now in the second phase, the Nivea banned out here, trying to take away some of the, I guess, turret control. Being able to non-stop farm, and also in these team fights just being able to sit in place and zone people off. So taking away a lot of these safe mid laners for Grandview.
Yeah, you want to take the control mages off the board. You don't want any of that kind of board control, as we like to call, for anybody going into Nidalee. Nidalee needs to have that ability to kind of weave in and out. And when you have the ball sitting there, or a Nivea's ult kind of just zoning you out of a fight, it's really hard to get in and out. So I like the bans here in response to that. Where do you think they're going to go to pair up with this Aphelios? I mean, Thresh is still on the board. Lulu is still there. Oh, Thresh actually got banned in that last ban.
Yeah. The Thresh ban makes a lot of sense to just try and deny the maneuverability for the Aphelios, a classic lane partner, because you're able to reposition the Aphelios if he runs into trouble. They go for the Gangplank here, and I like the Gangplank pick here because it saves counter pick for support. That way you know for sure if you're allowed to go for maybe some sort of engage support in this bottom lane, or if you're going to need a more mage enchanter type support to match against the Karma. So now they're going to know Karma is indeed headed into that bottom lane, and for Purdue, Aatrox in the top side, Sylas in the mid lane. The Sylas, of course, a classic match up with TF in order just to steal the ultimate and match those rooms.
Yeah, this is looking like a really solid draft for both of these teams. You have a lot of good pairings. Karma with that Hecarim moving into the mid game, You have a Silas to take away this Gangplank ultimate. It's looking really solid here. I'm not so sure about Bard with the Aphelios. Putting Aphelios on weak side obviously is like okay, but Bard's gonna want to roam around the map and put pressure with this Nidalee, and I'm not so sure about the safety of that Aphelios with the Hecarim lingering and with that Karma speed up. If he's going to be able to play safe enough for that Bard to be able to execute those rooms.
Yeah, the Philios could run in some issues because of how much dive is available from Purdue. So what I'm looking for in this Grandview early game is be a little bit more macro-centric, where if all of a sudden you're stuck in lanes for too long, you're going to see the Silas come on down, make a visit. You're going to see the Aatrox perhaps run you down as well. And for Grandview, they have all the tools to play the macro game, right? Because you have a TF ultimate, you also have Gangplank ultimate, so you have double globals, and then you're also going to have Chookies on the Bard, being able to really roam around. So it's up to Lobos to manage the wave in such a way he doesn't necessarily come down into these super difficult positions. But even if that does happen, the rest of the team is either able to respond and go to him or find a play elsewhere.
Yeah, and it's going to be interesting to see how these junglers path out this game, because obviously both of them kind of want to play towards mid here in the early game. I'm just curious as to whether Hecarim is going to look to match this Nidalee, or if he's going to play on the opposite side and possibly split map, which could be an option for them as well. But you're looking at these two compositions. How do you think these junglers are going to path, and where do you think they end up first?
So for the Hecarim, I expect him to see him more mid top side, unless if bot lane just tries to get a lot of priority bot side. You could look for Hecarim to not necessarily gank bot side, but to go for a lot of bot side invades and perhaps snowball into dragons. For Grandview, it's about propping up the early game of these solo laners and allowing them to hit mid game, get level 6, and allow them to start really flexing their muscles around the map with their ultimates and being able to work the macro tools that they do have. So I think Kulthra, he's going to be looking to either ward out to make sure his lanes are safe, or he's able to perhaps get some early pressure coming in from the lanes to go for invades to get deep vision. So I think it's more of a vision game for Kulthra rather than hard ganking.
Yeah, I would definitely have to agree, because when you're looking at these lane matchups, there's not a lot of priority on Grandview's side apart from early game on this Aphelios into Kai'Sa. Getting priority as Gangplank into Aatrox is pretty easy in the early game, but it's just a matter of pressure from these junglers. Knowing where this Hecarim is going to be imperative for Grandview as they look to push in and try and get this Nidalee priority so she can kind of roam around the map and do whatever she pleases, right?
Yeah, so I think there's more on Purdue in trying to make early game things happen, and for the side of Grandview, there is still a lot of responsibility on Kulthra, as you mentioned, because he has to make sure the lanes don't fall too far behind, and that's going to be the way in for Purdue. If they're able to get good advantages in the solo lanes, they can very much just hit that first team fight at the third dragon, or the second or third dragon, and if the side of Grandview opts into that, that could end in absolute disaster for Purdue or for Grandview.
Yeah, and there's really only one way to find out how this game is going to play out, and that's going to be really, again, on these junglers and on not only Know You Stink, but also on Toponer, because if Toponer is able to roam and match Know You Stink on these ganks, whether it's top side, bot side, wherever he is, 3 and 4 manning is going to be the MO for this team, I think, and we're going to see how that goes, right?
Yeah, there's definitely plenty of Goon Squad potential with the Hecarim Silas, of course, there. Being able to steal away the TF ultimate. Also, for the Silas, of course, whenever you talk about Silas, you have to talk about the ultimates he can snag away. And in this game, he's got decent options here in the fact that he has TF ult, he has Gangplank Call, and he also has the Bard ultimate. So a lot of initiation power is going to be in the hands of the Poner. However, there are just more of those on the side of GVU.
And we are now going on the Rift to see where these things end up. This is going to be Grandview versus Purdue Northwest. As we move on to this Rift, we should see a nice little spread out here. A nice 5-point from both of these teams. Nobody looking to go and invade really.
T-Mobile is upgrading its network at a record pace. We were the first to bring 5G nationwide. And now that Sprint is a part of T-Mobile, we're turning up the speed. Upgrading over 1,000 towers a month with ultra capacity 5G to bring speeds as fast as Wi-Fi to cities and towns across America. And we're adding more every week. Coverage and speed. Who says you can't have it all?
All you have to do is dish a drink, and your taste buds.
Sounds like happiness. So many feels. All the feels.
You do the shimmy when it meets expectations, and the head nod is I'm perfectly satisfied.
Sonic Ultimate Drink Stop.
With a top-rated app that lets you deposit checks and transfer money anytime, anywhere, banking with Capital One is like the easiest decision in the history of decisions. Kind of like...
I'll take Barkley.
Yes! Yep, even easier than that. What's in your wallet?
Anywhere here. Yeah, it looks like it's going to be a standard 5-point. Both junglers headed towards that top side. I'm excited for this one, Nightstar. I think we're in for a really good series here.
Yeah, and I think this first draft probably went as well as it could for a side of Purdue, being able to have a lot of early game tools to try and hit mid game and snowball off of that. And for GVU, I mean, they've got a very safe composition. It scales really well, but it also allows just so much playmaking, as I would hope to expect from a top caliber CLO team.
Yeah, and it's like we alluded to earlier. This is a team that has risen in prominence in both UPL and in CLOL. Probably the biggest powerhouse team of the Midwest Esports Conference, and they're looking to show off that power here in this one against Purdue Northwest. But we do want to see the underdog story, right? Everybody's always rooting for the underdog in these situations. But it looks like we're seeing a topside start for Colthrow and a bot side start for No You Stink. So potentially splitting map here already early on.
Yeah, and it doesn't look like either team is really going to spot out where the other is going to be starting, although the bot lane arriving late does indicate that yes, the Hecarim did start bot side. So we'll see what Colthrow does with that information, although for No You Stink, he has gone pretty much straight buff to buff. So he is going to be in the area if something does end up playing out topside.
Yeah, I'm interested to see if they elect to go for this topside scuttle skirmish and to see how that plays out. But Leighton's already getting a little bit of poke down there in the bot lane as Lobos and Choki kind of have to back up there. They don't really have that prio that I alluded to in draft. And yeah, things going pretty much as expected across the map here. Hecarim going to full clear that top side and probably path down towards that bot scuttle once again. But do you expect to see skirmishes around these scuttles, or do you think they're just kind of going to trade each one?
I kind of expect it to be more of a trade here in this situation. We have Enchanter supports, but in this bot side, it should be in firm control for Purdue and just having that bot lane priority. You have the Karma, who is going to be able to get wave control, whereas on the flip side, Chucky, he isn't able to do as much of that for his lane. As Platypus, he gets a nice little barrel chain there, and Koskinen looks like gets a little bit feisty here in that mid lane, but the Poner really just looking for these trades as much as possible to keep this TF in lane as much as he can. And it looks like we've got an early roam.
Yeah, Latents and No You Stink are lingering there in the mid lane, but they've been spotted out and pinged. Looks like Koskinen is going to back up. As Chucky and Lobos know that Latents is roaming back, it looks like Chucky's going to be like, okay, you win this one, buddy. They did get the ward down, so they will be able to spot out a potential rotation. But losing Prio in the bot lane, the bot scuttle does go over to No You Stink. And now we have Nidalee pathing towards that top scuttle for her.
Yep, everything playing out pretty much as expected in that trade. And I mean, Chucky, he can just walk up for that little to check things out in the river there because of the fact he is barred. He will be able to get back to the safety of his tower very easily. And I like the fact that they also set up a dive ward.
Lobos gets the Gravitum root, and Chucky trying to follow up. The flash going to have to come out from Latents here. So not respecting the Gravitum switch and able to capitalize on it.
Oh, Platypus could be in trouble. The wave's in a tricky spot there.
Some trading going on in the top lane. That third Q is going to miss. There's a cheeky spear from Colthrow, but here comes No You Stink trying to get an engage onto that top side. Platypus getting some trade damage back, but meanwhile bot lane, Lobos getting some more trade damage on Udon Beaton, and now Layton's going to get a root back, but that looks like that's going to be that. So just some trading, some intense trading, but some trading nonetheless. Ooh, Ignite getting dropped out by Chucky there, so maybe a little bit overzealous on his damage there as the Ignite goes down for him.
Yeah, probably just hoping that there was some sort of panic come out from Layton's there, and he ends up burning Summoner, but doesn't end up doing so. And it ends up being 2v2 trades happening at the same time, and while no kill comes out of it, GVU do have a 600 gold lead. So this top lane is incredibly going incredibly well for this Gangplank, and now he's hit level 6. He can add that extra global presence to the map.
Yeah, and it looks like they're going to be pathing towards this bot lane as well, as No You Stink trying to get that level 6 secured for himself. And we see TF trying to get some deep vision, has been spotted out. They do ping it out, so he's just going to back up, clear that pink ward and pixel. But I'm expecting Purdue Northwest to potentially go for a dragon play here in this early game, as they do have a relative amount of priority here in the bot lane, and that Hecarim is close to level 6.
Yeah, and while they are going to have priority in this bot lane, a lot of their playmaking potential is going to be reliant on where that wave is mid lane, because the opponent now he's going to be able to get access to that TF ultimate himself, and it just comes down to, well, if his bot lane is shoving in, it definitely leaves them to be exposed to a TF gank with his ultimate. So Boner just has to have good vision coverage or be in a spot where he can respond very quickly.
Yeah, and another thing, we did see Solendrick use that teleport up in the top lane, so no more TP available for him should they go for something on the bot side. No 5-mans are going to happen.
That's all.
And here comes the Poner, and they just go ahead and magical journey right on out of there. So Poner not able to capitalize on that one.
Cultural looking for something on the top side. That's a nice spear. It doesn't look like they're going to try and capitalize off of it, but it's still a fat amount of damage that Platypus is going to be very happy about.
Well, the root is going to land on the Latents, but meanwhile, Solendrick is getting dove, and the Hecarim ult's going to come through as well. Latents getting slowed out. Chucky trying to get the damage. He is going to land the Q and secure that kill for himself. But Solendrick dying bot lane. Hecarim trying to get the fear out to save him, but just not in time as they drop that top laner.
Yeah, and that's That's not good. That is not a good look for Purdue. They try and make a play bot side, but the wave just not in a nice position for the Silas to truly take advantage of it. And now Chucky has made the roam over to the mid lane. Koskinen lands the gold card.
Is here. Here comes Toponer, and that's going to be the Bard ultimate landing onto Toponer, and now he's going to have to flash out. Meanwhile, the Magical Journey is going to come through, and that's going to be Chucky getting out to safety. So they do get the flash from the Silas. And we said it earlier, and I want to say it again. This game is going to be action-packed, guys. This is going to be an absolute bloodbath of a game. We're only 2 kills in, but as this game progresses, things are only going to get more aggressive. The TP coming out from Koskinen going into that mid lane. But I want to let my color caster at least speak for once this game. We're looking at this gold's disparity already. It's already at about 2.3k. Map control has been all GVU at this point. What does Purdue Northwest need to do to regain control of this game?
Yeah, so I think some of the issue from the early game was the fact that they didn't go for enough aggressive warding into the bot side to really try and hammer home the ability they just have, or the kill threat they have with this Hecarim. And the Hecarim just didn't quite find enough in this early game to really get these solo laners in a nice position. Of course, they're starting to hit that mid-game spike where they're still going to be better. Just as a composition, it's just a matter of, well, for GVU, they hit all the marks that they need to do, and everything else just comes down to...
Oh, look, David, my delivery's here. You got your birdseed bread, your birdseed butter, and an 87-pound bag of birdseed.
Enjoy.
Whoa. And that's just lunch.
Get more from your neighborhood. DoorDash.
Free, free, free.
That's right. TurboTax Free Edition is free. Free, 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 free.
Do I wear too much cologne? Should I shave my thin and dome? I become my dad, I'm like his clone. You got questions, we got answers. We got you. Now it's all in you.
To not making mistakes, and for PNW it's about making or forcing mistakes out of GVU.
Yeah, and Solendrick getting a really good amount of damage on the Platypus. Here comes the ultimate coming out as well from Platypus. The flash, but cannot flash the auto attack in time as Solendrick secures the solo bolo in the top lane.
And there we go. That's a mistake up into that top side. Ends up shoving out just a little bit too far there. And he just didn't respect the all-in potential coming in from that Aatrox. And Aatrox able to find that kill is going to feel really great for Solendrick. But now Teleport comes back top lane. He's going to be perfectly fine. And things kind of just come back down to neutral, as one might say in FGC terms.
Yeah, and the Bard ultimate is going to miss onto Latents here, but the magical voice in my ear is correct. There has been no dragons taken still up to this point, and that is really intriguing. If you're GVU, you really want to get on top of these early Drakes, and so far Kothro has been pretty much topside for the past few minutes.
Yeah, and I do have a counterpoint there in that it's perfectly fine. Oh, okay.
Oh, no, you think looking on the Chucky here. Chucky may be caught out. He's going to go for the magical journey. The ultimate going to come out from Udon Bidon, and that is a dead Bard.
Yeah, and it looks like Chucky, he just got a little bit too excited there trying to get that ward. as he ends up dying there. That's going to be first dragon going into the hands of PNW. And the one thing I wanted to mention was the fact that it's more important for PNW to get these early dragons, try and push it to that third dragon as fast as possible, because if they're unable to do that, then the GVU have no reason to try and just straight 5v5. And this is what their composition is going to be better at before late game, is the fact that they can utilize all their global tools to work the map, find odd man scenarios instead of that 5-man. So it's up to PNW to get those early dragons and force them into a situation where GVU have to contest third dragon at 16 minutes. But with dragon coming in so late, we're not seeing a 16-minute third dragon.
Throw just getting some cheeky spears on on the No You Stink over there in the blue side jungle, as Chucky getting some vision control here of the river and of that tribe brush, maybe trying to set something up for himself. Throw going to jump to safety, so almost another Solendrick gap, but not quite.
Yeah, now Deponer, he does have TF ultimate available to him, so he definitely had the ability to make a roam happen there top side, and that's kind of why Cultural also backs off, knowing that there could be a response coming in from mid. And now
here comes the TP coming from Deponer that is going to land. The shackles come through, and Udon Beaton going to ult on top of that and secure himself a kill. Meanwhile, Solendrick going on to Platypus. Third Q is going to land. A lot of damage coming out. The ultimate coming through as well. Is this another solo bolo? No. Platypus is going to get to safety. Meanwhile, here comes the Bard, and here comes the Nidalee. Solendrick, you bit off a little more coming in and you could chew. Maybe not. Oh, he does get the trade kill back as Deponer comes through. And now that is going to be another double kill going over to Deponer. So Solendrick ending up going down, but they do get 2 trade kills back in that top lane for Deponer.
Yeah, and for the side of Purdue, that is definitely a worthwhile trade, being able to grab themselves a 2-for-1 trade, trading up in that situation. A beautiful response teleport coming in from the Deponer, and Koskinen just not in a spot to respond himself, didn't have the teleport there, and he already used his ultimate earlier, so didn't have that one as well for a tool. And all of a sudden, you know, we're talking, we're starting to cook with some gas here for this Purdue team.
Yeah, and Purdue has closed this gap significantly. It was at one point almost a 3K gold lead for GVU, which has now been closed to about 500 gold. So a 6-3 kill differential. That really just comes down to CS, and that's pretty much it. Where those gold disparities lie. But we're looking at this next dragon spawning here in about 1:30. We do want to see Purdue Northwest pressure for that, because like you said, we want the idea is to have them get 3 dragons and then make GVU come to them for that third one. But Platypus and Solendrick trading aggressively here in the top lane. Platypus finally able to trade with him. But we're looking at that. I mean, we got another minute until dragon spawns. And in the meantime, people are just going to be farming. But we do have no TPs for these top.
I mean, top?
Deponer looking top, but was spotted out by a pink ward. Koskinen does have that ult available, whereas Silas is not going to be able to have that TF ultimate for himself should they go for a play here in the bot lane. But here comes the Rift Herald. No You Stink is lingering. Lobos has a bunch of chakrams loaded up here. And now they are going to turn off
engage
TF ultimate. And now Koskinen going to get them off of it. But meanwhile, Solendrick and Platypus still going at it in the top lane. Platypus going to have to flash away. Now, GVU secures themselves the first tower in the bot lane. Solendrick and Platypus still going toe-to-toe. We're really... Okay, Chucky going to Magical Journey into the mid lane. Deponer has grabbed that Bard ultimate for himself, but he may be done for. No, he's
by time
with the Bard ultimate. And now trying to turn back some damage onto the enemies here, as now Lobos does have red and white, which is not where you want to fight that Aphelios. And now they're going to back up. It looks like no, Toponer are going to go forward. The shackles missing onto Lobos. And now trying to get some trade kills back. Now they're going to stun him out. Here comes the Gangplank ultimate, the Bard ultimate, going to land onto Udon Beaton. He may be caught out, but they're trying to zone him off. They get the stun onto No You Stink. The spear going to miss as well. And now they're going to back up. Dragon has spawned. GVU needs this dragon as they're going to look for it. Lobos still has chakrams available, many of them, that is. And now here comes the from No You Stink. He's not going to get it. The ultimate coming through from Lobos. Lobos has so many chakrams. He's 200 yearsing them. And now Toponer on the flip side able to secure the kill onto Chucky. Now Lobos has all these chakrams available, but is he able to stick to anyone? Toponer going to try to push over the wall. He gets the Aphelios ulti, and it goes ahead and gets over that wall. And that ends up being a 2-for-1. It looks like.
Yeah, it looks like it ends up being a 2-for-1 trade there. However, for the side of GVU, they're able to at least snag themselves that dragon. So again, it's a quality trade for them because it allows them to continue to play the map as long as possible. However, I will say this top lane not looking too hot anymore. While Platypus still wins out the very short trades, the moment that the Aatrox is able to get onto that Gangplank, he just hasn't been able to pull
the root from
away.
Lobos going to land on the Udon Beaton. He's looking for a fight here, but Kaisa said, "You used to be 200 years. It's me now," and is able to secure himself a kill there. Udon Beaton now 3-0 on this Kaisa.
Yeah, and Leighton's just applying his namesake to Lobos there, as he definitely had some little bit of a lag there, as he sees the karma come out of the bush, and honestly, not a whole lot of escape tools there for Lobos. Flash just coming up, but not the ideal spot for him to just burn it right away.
Maybe looking for something mid here. He's going to rocket belt forward, gets the stun. The spear misses, and they're just going to back up. So he did what is it? Abscond and abduct? Is that what that is called?
Yes.
He absconded away at the perfect time and was able to dodge that spear. But meanwhile, Latents is lingering. They spotted out the Bard, but able to get that back completed. Baron has spawned here at 20 minutes. We'll see if that elects to be a objective that is pressured here in the next few minutes. But it looks like we're
possibly in trouble
here. Here comes the far sight. Platypus does not have flash. No You Stink going in on him. Here comes the Kaisa. Good lord, that damage. The root going to land on Toponer. He's trying to buy himself.
Are you looking for a new way to make up to $700 this month and help save lives? Donate plasma and make up to $700 this month at CSL Plasma.
This has got the steak and the sizzle.
The tots on this are just crispy and they're flavorful.
This will keep you out of my tots.
Sonic extra long ultimate cheesesteaks. Yeah, this might keep me out of your tots.
So some time. Koskinen going to ult in as well. Toponer going to get stunned up.
That's a nice catch.
And there is another catch onto Blatant. A double stun coming through. And now so much damage from Kothro, but he is caught as well. And now they're fighting even more. Lobos going to have to flash to safety. Gets the root down, but is it enough as Solendrick is trying to chase them down? Here comes Kaisa. Udon Beaton does not have Lobos available. Solendrick may have bit off more than he can chew here as he's getting slowed out by Chucky. But they're trying to get out of this situation. They are going to. And that ends up being a one fight for GVU in all.
Yeah, GVU able to find man advantage in that trade is really, really nice for them. And we're just seeing a nice war of pick power coming out across the map here. At the beginning, you see Hecarim, Kaisa really working well together. Being able to get that knock up on to Platypus means that Udon instantly gets to join that top lane fight with the Killer Instinct, and then afterwards we saw a nice display of their own catch potential coming out from the side of GVU, and Koskinen with that gold card in tandem with Chucky, and also of course the Gravitum coming in from Philia, so plenty of CC to chain down the Poner. And while Deponer tried to use the ultimate, the Stolen Bard ultimate, to keep himself alive a little bit longer, it just wasn't enough.
Yeah, that's right. And we're looking across the board here. You see a gigantic gold disparity on these 80 carries as of right now. And that's a 5-0 Kaisa with 2.5 items. And the gold disparity is about 1,200 at this point, which doesn't sound like a lot, but at 22 minutes as an 80 carry, that is a lot of gold. That's about half an item worth of gold. So
yeah, that is about a Zeal's worth of item there, or you can also say it's the Dirk difference. But that is one of the nice things about the current Affiliates build is, of course, you have the Runan's Hurricane, which is a very cheap item in comparison to the Collector, but the Collector does mean you do a boatload more damage.
Yeah, that is very true. And Udon Bidon has that Collector completed along with that Gale Force, which is a ton of execute damage, as well as that passive, which does missing health as well. So if you get hit by that W and you got 4 stacks on you, you might die.
Yeah, you definitely could just pop right there. And Udon Bidon, I mean, he has so much assassination potential. I love the fact that he did opt for Gale Force to emphasize that play style rather than go for the Kraken Slayer, which players do opt into that, certainly. As
Bard ultimate going to land onto Lobos, but the follow-up Bard ultimate onto 2. Meanwhile, here comes Deponer trying to get into the middle. Udon Bidon goes into the back line, goes invis, trying to get more damage out. Platypus is so low, he's going to fall to the ignite from Latents. And now Udon Bidon showing off that Kaisa, able to get into the back line and just deal so much damage like we were saying. And now Deponer trying to get that mid-prio back for his team, but maybe just a little too low. But meanwhile, they're trying to get the slows onto Koskinen, and the root is going to come out, but he's going to Zanyas out of it. And that is still a dead Koskinen, despite the Zanyas coming through to try and buy himself some time. And now, how the tables have turned. Purdue Northwest now up about 1.5K gold, and Baron is on the map. They may be looking for that next.
Yeah, and I mean, we talked about it post-draft. PNW, they want to contest, they want to play for that 5v5 fight around 3rd Dragon. And while it wasn't the 16-minute mark that I was hoping for, it happens at 23 minutes, and it's a very, very clear victory for PNW. They find the 5v5 fight. This Kaisa was absolutely fed, and now gets even more into her pockets. And also Solendrek, while slowly but surely he's going to lose the 1v1s in isolation, that's not the case in these team fights. He's going to still find plenty of value.
I always said that it's relatively hard to team fight as Aatrox. It's never an easy way in and out of a fight. But when you have so much accessibility, you know, you have this Hecarim who's drawing so much pressure. They're trying to kill Kaisa. You're getting basically ignored. And by the time they're focusing you, you're putting out so much healing for yourself. And you still have that ultimate available, which gives you even more healing. You got the Gore Drinker. I mean, when they do turn to focus you, you're so hard to bring down. And Kaisa's doing what Kaisa does, which is boatloads of damage to the backline during that whole time.
Yeah, and I think it's in part due to the fact that GVU, they themselves don't really have any hard disengage, so it's very difficult for them to get away from the squad that has so much gap close capabilities in the Sylas, in the Hecarim, in the Kaisa. And again, you mentioned because of all that, you end up ignoring this Aatrox, which still, the Aatrox does not have a really good time against the ultimates such as the Bard and the Gangplank ultimate, but because of all the other distractions, how far ahead the rest of the team is, he gets to run forward with impunity.
Yeah, that Aatrox is going to be terrifying, but we haven't really touched on this Silas yet. He's actually been a really impactful pick, and that Leandries has been putting in work for him as far as damage is concerned. And this Silas is only going to get bigger. Silas scales really, really well into this game. And that Bard ultimate in that last fight was absolutely massive. If he's able to replicate that in these following fights, it's going to be so hard for GVU to stick to that backline and try and kill this Kaisa.
Yeah. And I mean, the Poner had such a great Bard ultimate, and it feels kind of weird saying that because he only found one person. However, that's their team fight. Their entire team fight on the side of GVU is just Lobos on this Aphelios. If he isn't in a good position to set up for this fight, that is just it. If he dies, that's done dusted. And on the flip side, while Chucky was able to find a very, very good ultimate himself, they didn't have quite the follow-up for his ultimate, and it was really just to try and slow things down as much as possible. The
Poner looking for that Bard ultimate onto the TF. It must have been expiring, and he was just looking for something there, but it's not going to land. Does have 2 levels on this Twisted Fate, so now that level 3 ultimate is available for Silas, which is a huge deal, especially if he's able to get Platypus's ultimate and put out a ton of damage in this next fight.
Yeah, that is definitely the big difference here for the Poner, having that rank 3 ultimates, and these top laners also trying to find their own rank 3 ult, but Platypus, he's not having fun anymore.
He's straight up not having a good time, man. That is poignantly put, I would say. But this dragon is going to be spawning here in about 2 seconds, and PNW is in position to look for this. They may actually go after Baron and try to trade. Doesn't look like that's going to happen as that dragon goes through uncontested. Now 3 dragons secured. The Bard ultimate going to miss onto that Baron. Potentially thought they were there.
But it was a really good use of the stolen Bard ultimate just to check Baron, make sure that they didn't have to go and try and respond to that play. And for the side of GVU, they don't necessarily have the Baron damage at the moment. Yes, you do have Lobos, and now he's going to find Crescendum Severum, which are those Baron weapons that you're looking for. However, just didn't have it for that particular play. And once again, Leighton's, he's just walking in. He's been trying to clear that control ward in the back of the pit for what seems to be like 3 minutes now.
It's been longer. It's been an eternity, actually, that he's been trying to clear that. That ward has been there since the dawn of time, and Leighton's has been trying to clear it since the dawn of time. So that is a ward that may never be cleared. Who knows? But we are looking at this game. The scoreboard. If you look at just
with no fees or minimums on checking and savings accounts, banking with Capital One is like the easiest decision in the history of decisions. Kind of like,
I think I'll go with cardigan.
That's banking reimagined. What's in your wallet?
Yeah. Yeah. Boo. She gon' bust it. She gon' rustle. Yeah. What's up, baby? Tell me how you get the one up on me. Aye. And I know you ain't playing round. You about to have me down on one knee. Aye. I got that soul. Now she done came and snatched the soul out of me.
And welcome once again to this lovely evening here on Upsurge. We are here with the Contenders League coming out here with Meme City Esports and Phoenix Rebirth. I believe Storm. I think I missed that, but I am very sorry about that. My name is Orbital. I am known as the professional emergency caster, or in other words, the man with a little bit too much time on his hands. I'm joined here by Nightstar. He will be commentating with me. How are you doing today, Nightstar?
I'm very excited. Always happy to cast with you. Always happy to see you on the emergency. A very familiar face, of course. Whenever the world is in need, we send out the orbital, and there he comes.
Either that or just, it's the last one on the list. It's one or the other, and we go with it. I'm very happy to be here, and I'm excited to bring what is going to be another, I think, fantastic match here in week 3 of the UCL. Again, this is the time where teams start jockeying for position and really start putting in the wins. Today, again, Phoenix Rebirth, they are sitting at 2-0. They are looking to continue their streak, finally push and break away, show that they deserve that number 1 spot. Whereas Meme City Esports sitting at 1-1 might need to start jostling some things together, as we have heard that there actually is going to be a very slight roster change this week.
Yeah, so this week they had PJ I think that's how you pronounce it, but PJER, they had him in the lineup previously in both of the previous weeks, and then now they have finalized on a support who is Flay. So I assume, judging from the name, that he's going to be playing a fair amount of Thresh. So we might see maybe some Thresh focus here in the pick and ban, but of course a lot of the meta supports has just been Seraphine. So we'll see if that ends up being a very contested pick here. I mean, from pick perspective, it also means that we have Viego enabled this week.
Yeah, and this is where you start worrying about, the real power dynamic that usually shifts around. This is the time where you realize that almost all the players tend to have at least relatively similar champion pools. Just because of these champions, they are super strong. These are the champions that you want to watch out for. So, of course, everyone should be able to play it. Everyone should also be able to play against it. That's at least the hope that you're going for. So of those champions that you were talking about, the Udyr, the Seraphine, and the Viego, I mean, which one do you think is really going to come out as that bright spot? Maybe that one that's highly banned away or highly first picked on the blue or red side?
Yeah, so it looks like Viego is still disabled this week due to bugs. I mean, maybe we'll see him once Riot decides to figure out what's up with his new. I mean, sometimes the new code ends up being a little bit messy. But,
Yeah, just a little. But that still leaves quite a few other options, of course. Like we talked about, we do have the Seraphine, which is played in mid and support, I think, on both teams. Kaisa is still extremely powerful. I know she's getting a small nerf coming. I think they were hinting at it in the next upcoming patch notes. However, lots of ADCs coming in and out as well. So where are you looking to see a lot of these bans and possibly rotations coming out for both these squads?
If AD carries still want to play Samira, now is the time to lock her in because after next patch, she is gone from the face of the rift. She has been absolutely gutted. At least that's what it's showing on at PBE. So again, AD carries, they like the play make. They want a highlight reel. This might be your last chance at a highlight reel here.
I think that's right. What was it? I think they were saying they're like, taking away, they're shortening the range of the dash, number one, shortening the W timer that you have to kind of stack it. It's a ridiculous knockdown. It's beating a dead horse because she was already knocked out of the S tier, I think, with the last round of nerfs, and now it's just even worse. So Very interesting to see. At least that's what they're going for. But we'll see what they decide to do, and we'll see what comes out here. Because like you said, this is your last chance with the Samira, but this is also might be your last chance with the Kaisa to make those plays and be able to hammer out a heck of a lot of damage and be able to show off some of your skill. We are into Champion Select here. First ban's off the table with Meme City Esports coming out with that Pantheon ban first.
Yeah, the Pantheon, just incredible flex pick, so makes a lot of sense. And the Gangplank, we touched upon it off broadcast in the fact that Meme City, their top laner, does play a lot of Gangplank. So if it doesn't get banned out, I do expect to see early priority onto that pick. I also think it's probably the best top laner still. He just doesn't get hammered out. And the two picks we really highlighted also pre-draft, the Seraphine and the Udyr, both of them ripped away.
Yeah, and I want to point out, I was talking about it last broadcast, I think, on the Upsurge Minor League, but it's always surprising as that forces the Kaisa ban, right? The Udyr is usually seen, it's always one of those last red side bans. You either ban Udyr or the Kaisa, so forcing all of these high priority picks to be taken away means that it does open the field for a little bit lower tier champions, but still maybe a little bit more comfortable for some of these players. And obviously we already see that Gragas immediately being hovered and locked in.
Yeah, Gragas is just such a great flex pick right now because of his ability to be played in 3 lanes. You can even say he can be played into the 4th if you throw him in the mid lane, depending on the mid lane matchup. But on the other side, we've seen a rise in Senna priority because of the Kraken Slayer and Ginsu's Rage Blade build. It's just been an item combination that once she hits 2 items, she does an absurd amount of true damage, which is it gets to be Camille amounts of true damage.
Yeah, you ever not wanted to play the game from, a very far range away? Just, how did I die? A champion that was supposed to be a support turned ADC.
Yeah.
Just, it's pain. But yeah, Senna is locked in. We do also see the Galio, which has seen a rise lately as well, and taking away that Lucian. So the Lover's going to be split on opposite sides of the Rift for game number 1 here.
Yeah, and Rel also a really important pick in the meta right now. Just really, really good. Also has the ability to AoE engage. The Magnet Storm with the dash in. Just so much power. Stripping away a lot of resistances, adding the resistances to your own squad. And then as far as touching on the Galio pick, the Galio pick most likely in this case will get flexed into the support role because of the Lucian. So Lucian, if it goes mid to match Galio mid, just absolutely rips them apart. And so we'll most likely see him try and run away from that matchup as much as possible.
Quite literally run away.
Yeah.
We are going into the second round as we do see the Shyvana taken off. So it does seem that Phoenix Rising Storm are saying, okay, that Gragas might be going into the top side instead, or even the mid lane. So we're going to take that Shyvana off the table. Don't want to deal with that this time around. And Meme City respond with the Yone ban. So taking that one away, don't want to allow that possible combination of high priority mid synergy to take over the Rift.
Yeah, Yone just an incredible champion at the moment. Also Fly having a lot of experience on that pick. So definitely one of those champions that if you want to play a control mage in that mid lane, you do not want to see that champion.
Yeah, it hurts. And another one that you also don't want to see is that Silas, a champion that is known to just cause so much chaos. If you have a lot of good ultimates, it can easily be turned on its head. So rightly banning away some mid lane champions against Fly. So that does leave open a very strong front line engager in that Ornn. It looks like Kalandini might be grabbing that one for himself.
Yeah, so the Ornn pick here is pretty solid because it offers a disengage power for your composition. Right now, they have the disengage power from. Okay, it ends up being a pivot, so they're adding more dive instead of a disengage. So my issue with this composition right now is it leaves the Senna very exposed. Your only source of disengage of sorts is the Galio ultimate, and usually you still want to use that Galio ultimate to move forward, so ulting targets like the Volibear or the Hecarim in this case, just to try and supplement their engage power. And this last pick is going to be the LeBlanc. So it's for Phoenix Rising. They are leaving. Okay, so it's Phoenix Rebirth. They are leaving the Senna off to her own devices. It is. I don't know.
I have to agree, because you pick that Senna and usually you see a little bit more safety granted to it, or you see a little bit more played around it, but this is more all in and engage, and Meme City Esports actually match that. It's quite surprising, especially with the Gragas. I personally do like to see a little bit more disengage, have a little bit more scatter potential in the battle. But that's straight up just, hey, listen, you want to face sync, you want a 5-on-5 fight, we'll do the same. We'll actually lock in a much stronger combo in that tried and true almost season 2 and 3 Orianna Malphite to round out their composition.
Yeah, and for Meme City MCE, I like it slightly more because while of course, the Orianna is going to be pretty stationary, she's going to have Phase Rush, which still offers her some mobility when it comes to repositioning in these fights. Whereas on the flip side, the Senna, of course, she does have her W or Dark Mist to allow her to try and reposition. But then in those cases, you're not doing damage anymore. And unless if we see a pivot from the usual Kraken Slayer Ginsu's combination, so into the Moonstaff build, which I think would be pretty solid here in this case, because it allows your team to be a little bit more durable, and it's mostly focused on enabling the rest of your team. I think that's a really good build here. On the flip side for Meme City, if you're going to exchange dive, I like the fact that Meme City have ways to dive. Yeah, they still have the flexibility to try and peel with the Gragas and the Rel. So I like their composition in the fact that they can play multiple modes.
Yeah, having that flexibility, having that opportunity to possibly mess around. And remember, they picked this after they saw the, I believe it was the Hecarim, the Galio, and the Senna. So they knew exactly what they were getting into. And this is what they decided to go with. Again, we have talked a little bit, touched on every single lane. And again, I think the most important is going to be that bottom lane. It is Senna Galio versus the Lucian Rel. And we were talking about it before. Flake coming in here as kind of that brand new support for the team, Meme City Esports sitting at 1-1. I mean, do you think this is a matchup that favors him? As I think you pointed out as well, he is very much a Thresh one-trick style player.
Yeah, so this bot lane matchup definitely going to be important because of the fact that this is a new support. We're looking at, is this a synergy issue that for the side of Phoenix? Can they exploit coming into this series? And this is definitely a very telling matchup because it's, I would say, favored for the Rel into a Galio in this isolation heads up. And in that regard, we need to see the Rel really pay off because while she can do engage, I really like her more as a counter engage support, and this is exactly the ideal situation.
Yeah, gotta love it. We've seen Rels attempted to be used a lot of the time, and honestly, they've, at least for me, so far gone mediocre at best, right?
It's a learning curve.
It is, and it's like, she came out, had so much utility in her kit. The transformation was awesome. The stun was there from Tark. The ultimate sounded really cool until you see it on Summoner's Rift, and you go, what is that? That is a neutered form of 3 different champions that someone decided to throw on the Rift. And so I do like what you pointed out. It is so good if you look at it not as an engage tool, but as that disengage, as that way to stuff a potential all-in advantage. And this is, like you said, definitely going to be Flay stepping up to the plate. Now let's look at that mid jungle synergy, because I love what they decided to do. The Hecarim and the LeBlanc. LeBlanc, one of the most old school style early game killers, into an Orianna Gragas. I mean, this feels like the linchpin to both sides. I mean, do you feel like this is going to be a big centerpiece where the junglers are going to rotate, or do you still think that they're going to rotate through top, bot, and all that?
I think for Phoenix, their composition is pretty much all about this Hecarim and LeBlanc, because if you look at the other lanes, you're not necessarily playing for a Volibear. You're not necessarily playing for a Senna, because these are two champions that kind of just like doing their own thing. Yes, the Senna, if she gets more resources funneled into her, maybe she hits her item timings faster, but it doesn't change the fact that she's still reliant on getting those Senna stacks, getting the Dark Mist. And so ganking it doesn't necessarily get you more stacks per se. Maybe a little bit, but it's not like you're getting 20 right off a bot lane gank. Now, on the flip side, these lanes are really, really good for the side of MCE, and the fact that they kind of neutralize where they want to go. They want to go into that mid lane. Well, Orianna's a great defensive mid laner. And Gragas, he's not going to get overrun by the Hecarim per se either. So I love the setup coming in from MCE, but for Phoenix, the Hecarim and LeBlanc have to be the stars of the show.
Yeah, and if they don't get rolling, it's going to be a lot of pain coming straight their way. I mean, you run into a Malphite and an Orianna. I mean, you just don't want to deal with that. However, I am personally in favor whenever I see a lot of these big wombo combo situations. I'm always a little bit excited to possibly see a giant slip up, right? These combos tend to get very deadly, but if they're used improperly, that's a cannonball wasted, right? You are a press R composition and you fail. I mean, I kind of just want to see the Gragas ult push everyone away at the wrong time, and just like, oh well, now we just watch as PRS just runs over the entire rift.
Yeah, it could just be one of those spectacular failures, because you see the Gragas ultimate come in while the Orianna ult or just the Malphite ult zooms in, and you just see everyone just flutter away from the scene. Just scattered to the winds, and all of a sudden it just resets the fight in a very poor way.
Yep, and we are experiencing just a few technical difficulties. We will be on the rift very shortly. Thank you so much for sticking with us. But yeah, the Gragas could be that secondary assisted, disengage that PRS are looking for, right? It's, hey, listen, we don't have a disengage. Can you just knock us backwards half a step? Yeah, that's perfect. Thank you so much. Just Senna wanted to get out of the fight. Yeah, great, got it. Looking on the flip side, though, what do you think would be a drastic overstep for PRS, right? Because they also, as we pointed out, went all in engaged. The Volibear, the Hecarim, Galio. In your opinion, what would be the most dire situation that they could find themselves in that just spells doom for the rest of the game?
I think it really comes down to if this LeBlanc falls behind in lane somehow, it is an absolute disaster in that case. A lot of the other lanes, it's if they go even or a little bit behind, you're fairly okay with that. The LeBlanc just cannot let that happen because of the fact that everyone, she just has to be ahead of the curve at almost all times. And so she is able to delete these targets, because it's also a jungle Gragas, which typically for jungle Gragas we see a damage build. So you have the ability to nuke pretty much 4 targets, because even the Rel herself, fairly squishy without being able to proc Aftershock.
Yeah, just happy to tag on as much as they want, as without the Aftershock, she is a little bit squishy, but still well up there. Something I do want to touch on as well is Stevenator. That Orianna in the mid lane did decide to run Cleanse, surprisingly, which is, I think, going to hurt that laning phase even more, right? Because that is not a summoner spell for the LeBlanc. that feels a lot more for the Volibear, for the Galio, and for the Senna.
Yeah, it certainly can provide aid in the 1v1 matchup against the LeBlanc. Of course, the chain does have a root, but for the most part, you want to, if you're in an isolated matchup, you want to be able to run that teleport in order to get that better back timing, to be able to make some fumbles in your lane phase and still be able to get out of those situations because you have the reset capability of that teleport. Now, here with the cleanse, while it is going to scale pretty well here, you're not necessarily going to be looking to side lane as Oriana later anyways. Um, it does give you some better options when it comes to these team fights.
Yeah, few better options, making sure you don't accidentally sombrero or, not whiffing your ultimate and making sure to help out your team as much as possible. So, gotta wait to see towards that mid to late game and see how they synergize and how they can keep track of each other. Next up as well, Cornball in that jungle role for the side of MCE. He is running that Predator. And I love to see that personally because that means, at least I hope, we're going to see a very aggressive jungle side on both. So we will be getting into game here very shortly. Thank you so much for being so patient. We are here on the Rift, I believe, for game number 1. Meme City Esports coming out on the blue side with Phoenix Rebirth Storm. Rounding out that red for game number 1.
Yeah, and looks like we're going to see a 5-point start coming in from the side of Phoenix, but we are kind of grouping up for the side of MCE.
Yeah, and invading with a comp that I feel is probably like the worst invade comp, right? You have no hard CC. It's just like, we'll waddle in and have some fun, and that's about it.
Yeah, and to go back and touch on the Gragas Predator here, it does mean that there are going to be clear recall timings for Cornball, and that he's looking for that full clear to level 4 and then recall, get himself boots early on, and it looks like they will be able to clear out that word. So nicely done there, coming in from Meme City in order to take away that extra vision and get themselves a slight gold advantage.
Very slight, but it's an old school style of doing that, and I do like it personally. Seeing that sweeper coming out and making sure that you don't give any early information over to the opponent, especially with 2 early game junglers like this. So both junglers, though, starting on the bottom side, getting some help from their bot lane duos, and going to be seeing, it looks like, a full clear from both sets. So again, a little bit slow to get to the lanes then.
Yeah, and if we're looking for potential early ganks that might happen before that level 4 timing, okay, a bit of a trade here, but this is showcasing the power of the Rel and being able to play from the bush. That's when she's able to find engages.
Oh my gosh.
They're
actually,
committed.
yeah, they actually win that extremely hard. So, first time that we see Flay on this team and already asserting dominance in this bottom side at the level 1.
Yeah, and this is really good because at level 1, you are going to be just better than the Galio. The Galio doesn't have a ton of options. He wants to be able to hit that taunt plus heroic punch or justice punch combination. That's where his damage really comes from, as we see a nice little trade there coming in from Fly. And the Galio, of course, now that he is level 2, now he has a couple of trading options, but still Flay doing exceptionally well for that level 1 and being able to capitalize off the power of the realm.
Yeah, and they knew that they would be able to win that level 1, so go ahead, burn some pots, and they give themselves a 2-pot advantage moving into the level 3 and 4 stage. Both junglers have finished up their clears, though, and are looking for that scuttle, so maybe a little bit of action here in the river.
Yeah, possible river action here, but the Volibear would be able to rotate a little bit faster, and we also see the LeBlanc rotating as well. So possible options of attack for the side of Phoenix. would be to either really attack the mid lane or constantly invade the Gragas. Now, Gragas, while he is a nice scaling option from the jungle position, also provides magic damage, so you can opt for something like an AD mid if that is what you're looking for. It's also, okay, a possible top lane gank.
Yeah, an attempt here, although Wiley is out of mana. So,
a little bit desperate.
Yeah, CBC actually has nothing in his pocket, as we do see mid lane, though, fly in a minion wave, but wins that trade pretty evenly. Down in CS, but up in health.
Yeah, it's really just trading resources there. They have now the Hecarim bot side. Really curious as to what he's looking for there. Just because of the fact that, Gragas was just seen topside, so you're not really counter ganking that situation per se. And now these mid laners are desperately looking for a reset, both of them.
Yeah, and the smite comes down as George actually gets belly bumped from the Predator. CBC was able to help, but that's going to be mid lane. He
cleansed the damage!
That is so good. Fly thought he had it, but the cleanse was enough. That's going to be another Q barrel. Might be able to pick up the kill and the E. Belly Slam takes it as CBC says thank you. He will pay with his life, but he will take the extra gold. Bottom lane now seeing a stun land as Wubsy has no flash. Remember that. One more auto is there. No, the Ignite takes that one. And that is going to be Meme City Esports happy with the 2-kill pickup.
Yeah, and you just cannot disrespect that Rel. The Rel damage is nuts. And holy moly, Flay coming in and making a big statement already in this early game. The setup play has been really underwhelming and just not keeping either the bush warded or just acknowledging the fact that there is going to be a Rel looking for constant engages coming out of that fog.
So, and normally the early game would not be one of contention. We wouldn't be so excited, but again, that almost should have been Fly's kill, right? That should have given Fly that advantage that he wanted in that mid lane with that LeBlanc, and he just narrowly ekes out, doesn't get the kill, ends up with only an assist. And then bottom lane, a 10 CS different now between Ardent, Lee, and Wubsy. This is starting to look a little bit painful, especially with an Infernal Drake first dragon on the board. So losing control of your mid and bot at the same time might put them in dire straits.
Yeah, and again, for the side of Phoenix, this is a composition that does need to snowball here. And because of the fact that they have the LeBlanc, they have the Hecarim, while there is some scaling on both of these champions, it gets harder and harder to assassinate these targets once there is magic or resistance built up by anyone from the side of MCE. So things only gets harder and they have to find ways to rumble now.
Yeah, and this is one way. Get the stun down and the shockwave lands. Pulls George under the tower. He might not survive. One more tick. He does. Steven Nader is happy about that trade. He will take a 1-for-1 under the tower.
And actually a really well executed coming in from Steven Nader to trade 1-for-1. Uses that shockwave just in time. So right when the Hecarim ult ended, he was able to get the CC pull onto the Hecarim and prevent him from leaving and taking that extra damage and trades out. So it's still not a great situation for Steven Nader because he did lose that wave to the LeBlanc, and now this wave is going to be stuck towards Fly's side of the map. But yeah, you take what you can get, and that extra mid lane priority does result in an Inferno Dragon taking that 8 minutes.
Yeah. Not exactly as quick as you would hope for an Infernal Drake, but still good nonetheless. That is going to draw a Mountain Drake as a second. So either an Ocean Soul or an Air Soul will be the ones that we get to watch for. Not exactly the most exciting, but definitely very useful.
Yeah, and the Cloud Soul's actually ridiculous for the side of MCE. Meme City, they would love to have just more ults all the time, because this composition is all about those R buttons with the Malphite ult, the Gragas ult, the Orianna ult, and even the Rel ult. So it's definitely all about those ultimate buttons here. And for the flip side, you definitely want Ocean Soul if you are the side of Phoenix, as they're still just... Oh, this is a dive now.
Yeah, they're going to attempt to while he does have ult, but I don't think he has mana. Actually, he does. I think he just had enough. He's actually down to like 0. That's going to be Stevenator also getting punished. Down to about 100 HP. As Fly is ready to bully him out. George now possibly getting caught. Has to burn the Onslaught of Shadows. Everyone, good cleanse once again. Stevenator is keeping these kills at bay.
Yeah, and Stevenator with these cleanses. Usually you don't save that cleanse to just cleanse the ignite damage, but here he's just able to constantly use it to get himself out of these sticky situations. So while he is still very far down, he has been able to limit the damage, and that's really all you can ask for when there's been so much investment into this mid lane.
Yeah, and one of the things that I do, and it's very much a personal opinion of mine, but sometimes in the early stages, it's almost better not to kill an opponent, because, you know, forcing them to recall with 100 health or very low mana, I feel is very, very beneficial, because if they die, it's only what, a 4 or 5 second death timer, and then they come back, just run straight out of lane, right? Even with the speed boost. But if they're very low and they have some issues, very nice weave of the chain, but gets the shockwave dropped right back. That is going to be the LeBlanc being forced back now. But yeah, just a little bit of a different thought process there, you know, have a little bit more time to get freedom, a little bit extra lane prio there, but now Fly has to flash out, an immediate flash over the wall, and that is going to be MCE. Watching a trade of actually is going to win again. This is the 3rd time he is able to dance this out. Very nice dodge on the bottom lane. Ardently is ready to try and tango, but that is going to be the cowboy caught. Coling does literally no damage. Trollface blocks so his ADC can get it. Actually, Trollface took that kill.
Yeah, and that was a bit of a over-aggressive play, one might say, coming in from Ardently. Just no way for him to actually win that 1v1, as the rest of the Senna's squad already there to respond, and also just the fact that he already saw Hecarim in the mid lane definitely wasn't going top, but they're still looking to fight.
They're still looking to fight, drawing in the teleport. That's going to be a 3, and that's a huge pull-in damage, and the explosive cast to end it. CBC dropping some hard knowledge and a little bit of beer all over their faces.
Yeah, and we were talking about those R keys, and all 3 of them got used without disaster.
Oh, that was... could have been a little bit more, as CBC just dances on Wubsy.
Yeah, very nice play there coming in from the Gragas. Almost gets more, unfortunately unable to. And now they're going to move that Lucian into the mid lane to match the LeBlanc, and I think that's actually a really nice move here, because you do have you are in a fairly good spot with the Lucian, also still have the heal, so it's certainly, he's not that far behind in comparison to the LeBlanc. So you're up in CS and you're only a little bit down in EXP.
EXP is something that, you know, as long as you have the gold, you don't have to worry about too much. However, second Drake coming up here at 13 minutes 10 seconds. That is when it will spawn in. So PRS, first ones here, setting down, but the wards will be swept. This might be the 5-on-5 tango that we are hoping to see.
Yeah, but only the shockwave available here.
Wait, what? My gosh, Volibear just gets blown up and hunted down. That's going to be the horse next. Oh, this is going to be pain as PRS gets bumped, jostled, and pinballed into oblivion. Fly tries to go in, gets the assassination, but the shockwave is going to drop right
God.
back, and the belly slams are so good. CBC brings it home, and MCE style on the Phoenix squad.
Yeah, and what I wanted to highlight right before that fight was the only team fight ultimate they had available was that Orianna Shockwave. The Rel ultimate, the Magnet Storm, wasn't quite up available at that moment. Same with the Gragas ult and the Malphite ultimate. So in a heads-up fight, that was probably the best chance for the side of Phoenix. And with that fight gone down to the absolute dumpsters, this game just got that much harder.
I think most importantly as well, Kalandini in that top side, he didn't even use ult, didn't even use slash. He was blown up that quickly, and I feel that's a little bit of disrespect, right? You know the entire enemy team is around there. You know that this is an important Drake. And now that you have Ocean Soul on the table, you have put your team a little bit further in a deficit. He is going for that Trinity Force build, so he felt that he was going to be ahead in this lane matchup, which he was in the CS difference. But those kinds of mistakes cannot keep occurring.
Yeah, and this Volibear, the build is very underwhelming. I certainly would have expected to see something like the Chem Tank to provide extra engage potential, also gives you that extra durability, but if you go with this kind of build, you have to make it pay off, and it definitely did not in that fight. And at this point, Trollface, he's gone.
Just, I don't think there's anything to say at that point. We finally see the ultimate out of the Volibear, but Stevenator is kiting and kiting. Now George is ready to come in and help. One more auto attack might take it. He's looking to try and get it, but no, the Q doesn't land, and the shutdown goes to George, saving his top laner.
Saves his top laner, and that's actually a big moment, but the rest of them are going for more.
Oh, explosive cast almost kills him, but the finishing culling will prime the 1-for-1 trade. You could say 2-for-1 after that kill, but still very nice cleanup on the back end.
Yeah, and I mean the plays really that play right there, only there to get the kill onto Volibear. There was really no other meaning afterwards. They're not necessarily going to be able to take a ton off of it because of the Volibear kill, but they are going to be able to now start up this Rift Herald and also try and take that top lane tower.
Try indeed. They will not finish it. Rift Herald instead is the call. This will be second Rift Herald, I think first for, or no, sorry, I don't think anyone's taken it thus far. So actually first Rift Herald being grabbed here at 16.5 minutes. We'll see where that one's dropped by CBC. He has kind of the pick of his litter in all the lanes.
Yeah, actually, going back onto the Rift Herald, Phoenix did take the first one, and they did use a bot lane to cash in on plates for the Hecarim. That was the play where we did see Ardently overextend himself, tried to take a 1v5 essentially, and they cashed in on some plates right after, but it hasn't really, that's probably been the only good news for the side of Phoenix Rebirth here, because everything else has been really, really rough this game.
Extremely rough. You know it's going bad when the enemy Gragas bought a Doran's ring and only 17.5 minutes in is still sitting on 10 stacks. Like, if he builds that into a Mejai's, I think he's going to be the happiest man in the world. And you can see on your screen, thank you very much, Observer, for showing us the gold difference. Almost the entirety of the gold difference right now is sitting between Ardently and CBC. Both of them are sitting, I think, about at 1.5k over their respective counterparts, and they are slinging it without abandon.
Yeah, and here's the issue with the Senna support going Kraken Slayer against Rageblade is the fact that it is slightly more expensive, a slightly more pricey build here, and while the 2-item spike is really good, the one item power spike is very underwhelming for the Senna, and if this team has to fight around 1-item Senna, it's not a pretty image. And the rest of the composition, they do want to fight at one item. You look at this LeBlanc, has the Ludens completed. You look at the top jungle, they both went Divine Center, which I don't like. Oh, Trollface, he's...
Yeah, he ulted in thinking he could save, and actually a flash out put him in a precarious position. But now Fly might be in a bad spot, has to flash himself. 3-man taunt, though, might be the window that they need. Double stun as well from that Senna, but it only leads to the Hecarim's death. In goes Kalandini, and the Dawning Light grabs one in return. Battle in the jungle means Hellbars are very low.
Oh, Shockwave!
In the back line turns the fight. That's gonna be the Orianna deciding that the fight is over. A bloody battle leaves health bars low, but MCE comes out with just one more kill above.
Yeah, they end up trading very close, but the health bars still end up favoring the side of Meme City, and they are going to style their way to a third dragon. Fly also spotted on that ward, so they could thirst for more.
They could, but I don't think it's advisable.
Yeah, probably not ideal, especially when you're sitting on a 14 stack Medjais who now looking to go for the death cap, which I would definitely advise not to, but you know, when you're that far ahead, we'll see. We'll see. I personally would have preferred something like the Banshees or the Zhonya's Hourglass to give that extra protection and also to protect the stacks, because that's what it really comes down to.
Yeah, nothing else matters as soon as you get that Medjai. Listen, I am a KDA player now. I don't care what you say. I don't care what you tell me. I'm playing for KDA. So, however, in that fight, he did not care. You saw him charge straight up to the front line, going for that kill on Fly, forcing out multiple summoner spells. And at this point, you take a look at the summoner spell count. There is only a flash on Kalandini, who honestly is not that big of a threat, versus flash on Wily, flash cleanse on Stevenator, flash on both the bot lanes as well. So this team is ready and willing to go for this Baron and take just about any 5-on-5 fight that comes their way.
Yeah, and coming into this series, we were talking about, well, what players are we going to be looking out for? And the highlight was Flay, and what a statement to make in your first game for the team, and the fact that you still haven't died yet. The rest of your team's holding you back.
It's the team holding back indeed. I mean, and that was also from the get-go, right? Level 1, we saw him trading very heavily with the Senna and the Galio. No fear in him either, and that's what's allowed Ardently to have such a lead on his own and allowed CBC to actually roam towards that mid lane and put a lot of pressure down there. So I would say so far, Flay is definitely showing off why he deserves to be here and why he deserves to play at this level and possibly lead MCE to a second series victory. However, this time around, he might be caught, has to try and jump out, root lands, but he takes almost no damage. That rail, very tanky in that kind of Lancer form.
Yeah, and Fly, he's just continuously trying to fish for picks, but
Fly just gets destroyed. Ardently showing off here with that Kraken Slayer, and that is pain right there.
I mean, Fly living up to the namesake, because he really got squashed like a fly there. Just no damage coming out, you know, really just an annoyance as we refer to our house flies. And now this could just be the end of the game.
Yeah, it could. That's going to be a trade back and forth. Baron does go over to the side of MCE, and the battle is continuing.
Oh,
CBC
they could get Corbo!
Dropping quite low, but no, PRS decide they have to stay inside. Wubsy trying to take down this very bounty high on the Gragas, and they had to flash immediately out. 2 members down on the side of MCE, but they got the Baron. They're going to try and get away with as many as they can. However, the hunt is on for the little extra gold, and once again, Trollface, you got to stop taking those kills, man.
Yeah, Trollface cashes in on a massive shutdown for the tank Galio support. Sad news for everyone on the rest of the team. But on the plus side, they were able to get the Medjai stacks.
Magi down. 3 members do not have Baron either, so it will only be Wildly and Ardently pushing with the Baron. You can call that a win. However, minute up till the 4th dragon of the game, and PRS have got to be sweating here. If they do not get this, that is Ocean Soul going the way of a very tanky squad.
Yeah, now, the issue with that last fight was the fact that when you start Baron, all of a sudden you're kind of stuck in that area. And without a whole lot of places for them to go, it makes it really easy to all of a sudden land the Volibear ultimate, to do lots of damage with the Senna and Hecarim, because you're all confined in that area. So that's where they were finally able to find their one fight, but we'll have to see if they can turn it into 2.
Oh, well, they're going to definitely try. That's going to be the Onslaught of Shadows, just forcing out, but a very nice explosive cast. Sections off this fight. This is a 4-on-5. Turn 5v5 now as Wily teleported directly in the middle. Fly now caught on the wrong side of the rift. As that is going to be Dragon started up. Jungler down. George is down, so there will be no contested smite, but Fly is going to look to try and get the combo off. Might get it. No, the smite too dang strong, and that is going to be Ocean Soul for a mid lane tower. I think they'll take that trade.
Yeah, you will definitely accept that trade every single day of the week if you are the side of Meme City, and looks like that is really just all that's left in the game, besides taking down the Nexus for the side of Phoenix. This is an incredibly difficult position to recover from, and if they are able to, it has to be off the back of now Wubs with fine damage, now that he has this 2-item combination completed.
I'm not sure 2 items can compare to 2.5 plus soul, as that is going to be a lot of pain coming through here.
Or a lot of pain not happening for the side of MCE.
Yeah, they're just kind of walking in, but that's going to be the triple taunt. Fly going straight for the back line, but he just gets stunned up and shut down. Magnustorm draws into the back line, and they're just taking all the damage. Shockwave lands on 3. That's going to signal the re-engage. Onslaught of Shadows trying to disrupt the back line, but
they're still tanking!
Don't care. They style, they crush, and they ace. PRS, the Phoenix squad will rebirth no more, as their Nexus towers will fall, the Nexus soon to follow, and game 1 in very quick fashion will go the way of Meme City Esports.
And what a ridiculous last fight, Orbital. They were tanking that inhib tower for what was years. It wasn't just that, it was just the fact that it was Malphite and Rel was the one taking turret aggro, and it just shows you how well Flay played in this game number 1.
Yeah, have to give it up to Flay. Did very, very well, but let's not discredit that every single laner did their job. Wily held off this aggressive top lane focus. Steve got away with way more than I think he should have in that mid lane, and CBC, the man, the myth himself in that mid lane. He actually sold, it looks like he sold his Megis after he died, but still 7-2-10, an incredible score line and so much early game pressure. I mean, this squad knew exactly what they want to do and executed extremely well on that fact.
Yeah, definitely credit goes to the side of Meme City, and the fact that they were given a composition that they knew what their win conditions were, and they were able to execute. Now, on the flip side, we need to see a lot of adjustments coming in from Phoenix, because nothing, I mean absolutely nothing, worked at all for that draft.
Yeah, and I think you pointed it out extremely well, right? This all rode on the fact that George and Fly, the jungle mid synergy, had to work. They needed the Hecarim ahead. They needed that LeBlanc ahead, and they tried. They tried their best, and yet it failed. So now back to the drawing board, trying to figure out what the next composition is. Where do you think they go from here? What do you think they need to change up?
I mean, it goes straight back to a blank slate. You have to just figure out what else to really just go down up and down the lineup here. I mean, the build was poor onto the Volibear. Uh, the fact that you kind of pigeonholed yourself into this composition that needed to explode off of one item, but then you put the Senna here that doesn't have a one item build. So everything was just off. And there just has to be a massive readjustment in the draft.
Yeah, and we'll see if they can pull it off. We will be going to a very short commercial break, but don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with game number 2 between Meme City Esports and Phoenix Rebirth Storm.
Now she open up, you go to sleep. Aye. Now if you ever get to meet her, better keep a shot about to make a supersonic man out of you. She go below the belt, you better go for help. Get shot about to make a supersonic man out of you. I wanna be her man. Now I'm a believer. She used both hands. Now I'm a believer. Yeah. Big gun, baby. I'ma pull it out and shooting my shot. I got a feeling I can bust it, baby. Trust me, baby. I do this a lot. She do that roll. Now I'ma double tap that booty like I did. She take that pole. All the way down that choking sign gon' make me ski. I ski. Yeah, now if you ever get to meet her, better keep a shot about to make a supersonic man out of you. She go below the belt, you better go for help. Get shot about to make a supersonic man out of you. I wanna be her man. Now I'm a believer. She used both hands. Now I'm a believer.
And we are back here for game number 2 between Meme City Esports and Phoenix Rebirth Storm. Again, game number 1 went an interesting route, and then it just took off for Meme City Esports. And one of the points that we really wanted to talk about, of course, was that Rel really put on a really good performance play, showing off, and looks like he's styling and happy about the way that his first game with this team, at least on stream, is going.
Yeah, Flay really just took off to the races as looks like Orbital. I mean, it looks like you're joining us from orbit. Taking the long route.
Nothing new. But yeah, so one of the main champions that really showed off an exemplary performance on the back, as well as CBC, really showing off really well with that Gragas and having that aggressive performance. I mean, we were talking about, what needs to be done. And I mean, do you think this is a champion performance that that exemplifies the champion? Or do you think this is more like player disparity coming into it, where it was this skill level just kind of showing its worth?
I think it was mostly from not understanding how the champions worked. I'm not sure how much Rel they've played up against, whether it's in solo queue or just in scrims as well, because there has been such a steep learning curve to this champion. So even if you've played it in the first week or two of the champion release, you still don't fully grasp the ins and outs of this champion, because she has just kind of really taken off after the initial period where everyone was really confused. But now that some people have really started figuring it out, that's when you really understand the powers of this champion. And it really emphasized how out of position for the side of Phoenix they were in these team fights, because you would see the Hecarim go in, and then the rest of the team just got split up, whether it's through the Gragas ultimate or just the fact that Rel was waiting for the rest of the squad.
Yeah, very good zoning and oppressive laning as well. I mean, the composition that we saw from MCE, I honestly thought was going to be a straight up 5-on-5 team fight every single time, right? Ultimate from the Malphite goes in. Cool. Hits them. Everyone dog piles on the top. Instead, what we saw was just a massive divide of the team fight. Every time Fly wanted to go in on the LeBlanc, he was immediately zoned off. Literally, the Rel and the Malphite would hop on the backline or on the 4 members on the side of PRS, and everyone else just dogpile Fly. It was basically just everyone stay back. We're going to take care of your one guy that decided to dive our backline. We'll get to you. We'll get to you next.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the Hecarim ended up just being so far out of fights as well, because he was definitely always in positions where, all right, I see them all grouped up. I want to go in. And then I go in, but there's no follow-up. And that was the big issue with the composition, was that, yes, you can throw in the Galio ultimate. Yes, the Volibear can ult and kind of gap close with QR, but it's not enough. You're not far enough that you can do that, and they really needed to play more around flanks. But if you play around flanks, then the Senna's just like, well, where's the squad?
Yeah. Senna left alone is just the saddest thing I think I've ever seen. And we also saw how good it could be, right? There was a fight in the bottom lane. When the Galio came up behind, they were able to easily take out the Lucian at that time. Yes, that was all the way back at like 8 minutes into the game. But it still exemplified the fact that when Senna is given that little opportunity to basically try and lay down the damage, to try and lay down the auto attacks, she can work. Now, will Phoenix Rebirth Storm decide to go with that again? Or will they decide to try a different ADC? Will they try a different strategy? We'll have to wait and see. We are into the second game pick and ban phase, and already we see some changes. PRS say Gangplank is the same, but we don't want to see that Gragas anymore.
Yeah, and when you end up banning the Gragas on the second ban, it usually means that you're looking to ban another one of those champions from the previous game on the third one. We'll see if that ends up panning out. Of course, Kai'Sa, Seraphine, both still available, and I'd imagine at least one of those gets taken off the board.
I feel if the Seraphine is banned, then the Kai'Sa goes, and I also feel if it's left open, then the other one's left open as well. It's kind of like, all right, we need at least one of the power picks to come available. The Jhin looks like it is going to be the final resting ban here for PRS. They don't want to hand that one over. This is actually going to be the Rel. Okay, so 2/5 of the last composition, the one that we talked about the most, are not going to be falling into MCE's hands.
Yeah, I really like the Rel ban here. However, with the Jhin taking off the board, it does mean Seraphine is left available, and if PRS don't take the Seraphine here, Meme City certainly will. And from a mid lane standpoint, they do, Steven Nader does play it in the mid lane, so it would have been really difficult for them to pin down where the Seraphine was going. So PRS, they go ahead, they make the smart move, they take away the Seraphine, and I would say that answering Kai'Sa is probably not the answer, because Seraphine can deal with Kai'Sa, which is again why she is just the best champion in the game right now.
Yeah, I think in the patch notes they were saying, hey, we have to tone down this base 412 damage that's coming out of this one skill, so we're gonna tone it down like 100 damage off of it. So again, Kai'Sa very, very strong if you know how to play the champion, if you are able to scale up. And what better champion than dropping down to the next best champion, or probably the best champion you know how to play? That is going to be Thresh, locked in for Flay.
Yeah, Flay going to be able to get his pretty much namesake here, as it looks like PRS, they're going for a big time enchanter composition. And I would really like this because of how much neutralization power comes out from the comp. And then it really comes down to what kind of scaling bruiser do you opt for. Olaf is certainly one of those bruisers. Also really empowers the Seraphine to be able to extend her ult range, and it's a good combination here, and that's exactly what they go for. Other possibilities would have been something like the Hecarim.
Yeah, another speed up comp, but you know, lately we've seen this Karma Olaf synergy. It's been tried and true lately. Steven Nader looks like he is falling back towards that Orianna this time, though. I think it's going to be even more difficult, a lot more poke damage coming out than the LeBlanc. LeBlanc's going to, you know, dive in the entire composition, but this one, you get tagged with 2 or 3 spells and immediately you're out of the lane even faster than before.
Yeah, while the LeBlanc has more all-in threat on you in that mid lane, it's more frustrating, in my opinion, to play up against what we see so far from PRS. In the Seraphine, the Karma, so much things just flying at you and slowly whittling you down is going to be incredibly problematic. They take away the Hecarim here, and looks like they're still going to stick with the Yone Silence, so they are weary that the Seraphine could just go bot lane with the Karma as well, or Karma ends up going topside. There's still plenty of flexibility left in this opening from Phoenix.
Yeah, it's so weird to say that too. Hey, you know, the Seraphine could still go bot lane with the Karma, and you could just have a dumpster fire lane where you get constantly poked out. So MCE are definitely laying a little bit low, trying to slowly pick this apart. Down about 10 seconds to see what they want to lock in, and they do go for that Shyvana, and they will lock it in. So that is going to be the AP Shyvana coming out. Got some nice little buffs, a little bit easier Q to use, and a little bit of move speed if you get enough AP in you. So expect some heavy burst damage coming out, and the Croc locked in on the flip side for that top lane.
Yeah, so we should see some heavy bruiser champions coming out from Phoenix Rebirth to really take advantage of the double enchanter power that they have. They could still layer on one more enchanter, as the Zoe gets hovered. Zoe, don't know how well it plays with the rest of the team composition, but in an isolated matchup against the Orianna, you'll be able to do just fine. And you are also able to play from range, which is exactly not what Kaisa and Aurea want.
Yeah, and that's going to be the Scion lock in for the last pick. I honestly would have definitely enjoyed to see a Mundo coming out. Just triple AP threat. Why not run that Mundo? Just scale up towards that mid to late game. But they go with the Scion. Again, a great way to stuff some very squishy backliners if you get the chance. But let's run this down. Kaisa Thresh versus the Seraphine Karma in the bottom lane. And then the Orianna Zoe in that mid lane. This is drastically different. Phoenix Rebirth Storm, like you said, went to the drawing board, and I come back with a brand new, fresh draft.
Yeah, and this draft actually has some sort of conceivable themes to it, whereas the last one was really just all about the two-man squad of the Hecarim and the LeBlanc. If those two champions got ahead, then they had a way to win the game. This time around, they have multiple ways to win the game, but I would have to say the crux of the composition, the core of the composition, has to be around the Renekton and Olaf and how they do in this early game. How farmed are they to really be able to take advantage of the double enchanters that they are going to have?
Yeah, and all about making sure they are up to date with that. Now let's look overall. I mean, again, MCE are running a type of kind of disengage, engage style. However, this time, the jungle side, CBC, not the Gragas like before, but still an AP threat. Do you see him having the same level of early game pressure that he had before? Or do you think, with the style, of course, you do want to focus on the dragons, do you think he'll be going more for that safe style, let the lanes do their own thing?
I think it really just comes down to how well are his lanes going to be able to hold up when it comes to controlling waves. Because if the side of PRS, Phoenix Rebirth, if they're able to get a lot of lane priority and then transfer that into Olaf invades, then we're looking at an incredibly frustrating game for the Shyvana, where she isn't able to power farm, where she isn't able to hit her item timings, and then all of a sudden you're looking at a composition that's super short range, doesn't have any long range poke to back it up, and then you're just kind of left as a sandbag for the Zoe, for the Seraphine, for this Karma, and eventually the Olaf and Renekton swoop in and finish you off.
Yeah, just getting battered on all sides. You're praying for a little reprieve, and that's the hope that is coming out here. You have the Thresh, and I'm very excited. You remember, just like his namesake, right? We touch on it. Obviously, it is there. So let's see some fancy hooks. Let's see some awesome plays coming out, because it was more or less gifted to you, right? So I want to see what occurs with that. Now let's talk about the mid lane. I want to touch. I actually don't want to touch on it. I want to like step into this. Game number one, we saw Fly pretty much have straight domination. As I do go Granny once again, I'm very sorry. But Fly pretty much dominated that mid lane. Pretty much held a 20 CS lead. Zoe is another champion that likes to do that with even more range and a lot more oppression. Steven Eater got out multiple times with only about 100 health to about 50 HP. Do you think we'll see him die a little bit more in this setup, or do you think this is actually going to be an easier matchup than the LeBlanc one?
It should be an easier lane phase here. However, the issue will be moving out of the lane phase. Are you going to be able to maintain vision across some of these longer walls where you know for sure the Zoe will be looking to try and pick you off, trying to go for the windshield method?
It's kind of working. Very sorry. I know it's distracting. I'm so sorry.
But the Zoe and Orianna, like, as a lane matchup, shouldn't be super interactive, and you might even favor the Orianna, and the fact that she's able to have better trades with using the shield and walking up, throwing autos. Whereas Zoe's more reliant on landing the bubble to start her trades, at least for lane phase, without some big impactful paddle stars.
Well, hopefully that will work again. Stevenator, yes, is able to survive so much, but at this point, you want to see him get ahead. Looks like it's going to be another cleanse situation. This one makes a little bit more sense, though, as we do see it ahead of you. Very sorry, but we love to point out some of these awesome, some of the awesome picks in the summoner spells and also some of the keystones that they'll be running. But again, Stevenator had some issues. I want to see him be able to take over that lane. Hopefully that will happen here. Now for CBC, that's Shyvana. Ignite, Smite, going to be fairly standard. Do you like this into how much catch potential PRS have?
So I think the Ignite almost becomes a necessity here for CBC, because if the Olaf does invade the Shyvana's jungle, while Flash is going to allow you to get out of the situation, perhaps the Ignite is really just to deter the Olaf from even stepping into the jungle to begin with, in order to be like, hey, if you come in at half HP, I do have Ignite to kill you, and maybe that all of a sudden just propels me into this game as the Shyvana. And I mean, to be honest, I would have liked to see something like an exhaust if you're going for an aggressive summoner. We've seen it in the past where Shyvana, because she doesn't have gank tools, she just runs exhaust and runs at you, slows you down, and sets you up.
Yeah, and we'll definitely have to wait and consider how that will play out as we are on to the Rift for game number 2. Do or die here in this series for PRS. They need this one if they want to move to a game 3. MCE looking to be able to close it out in a 2-0 series, be able to push themselves to 2-1 in the league. Looks like PRS say, all right, time to have some fun shenanigans. But they're going to be met with a little bit of stiff competition. Wiley said, all right, don't want to deal with that.
They land
But
the bubble!
Sleepy Trouble Bubble does land. See if they can follow up. Yeah, just chain CC all day long. And Calandini, that's a nice little set of gold for himself to start off this top lane.
Yeah, and not only that, they don't have to burn any summoner to capitalize on that as well. So this is such a great opening for the side of PRS here in order to get into this, or at least push the series to a third game. And now you're going to have that extra longsword built up onto the Renekton. This is happy times.
This is very happy times. A champion that loves to play the early game gets an early game lead even more. Looks like he did opt for that longsword, said, I just need a little bit extra AD. So that's what they're going to play with, as the ward at the red butt has been swept out. CBC going to be starting on the top side. George starting on the bottom.
Yeah, and we'll have to see if he ends up playing out as George of the jungle, or if he becomes Tarzan, king of the jungle.
Yeah, that's definitely what he's hoping for, as we do get a very slight pause and a double, unfortunately. So we will have a little technicality as we get players back into the game. However, you know, First Blood went over to Calandini, but in reality, how much will this affect the mid to late game, in your opinion?
Well, the big thing here is all of a sudden the Scion pick, which can definitely neutralize this top lane, all of a sudden becomes a matchup that just gets 20% harder. And this top lane becomes very, very rough to play against, even with the corrupting potions. More than likely, he's going to need to look for an early teleport back into lane, with perhaps there's just a lot of things that the Scion is going to need to do in trying to keep this wildfire that is going to be this Renekton somewhat neutered.
And we'll see if George decides he also wants to help out as we are directly back into game. Starting out that Q while he says, all right, I'm not deterred by this long sword extra. Gonna keep trading and try and keep holding the top lane as long as he can.
And in this bottom lane, we'll have to see if Flay is able to really pilot this Thresh here to perfection. As nice hook.
Yeah, and an easy kill. What?
Yeah, that was a little bit of disrespect, and as a result, you know, nice little pick off there for this bot lane of Kai'Sa Thresh. Of course, they do have plenty of damage, but holy moly, that was a lot more damage than even I expected.
I mean, well played in that low instance. I mean, immediate level 2 into immediate hook, and actually got the flash heal at the very last second. You can see the summoner spells on cooldown, but you heard the noise that, or you heard the spells go off, and so now, not only in game 1 did Wubsy and Trollface fall behind, game number 2 it's even worse, right? That Seraphine without any summoner spells means she is prime pickings and cannot step up at all.
Uh-oh.
And this is going to be number 2. Trollface steps up, has to burn the flash, burn the exhaust as well. Double flash is still available, but Flay eats a heavy empowered Q from Wubsy. Ardently, though, wants to keep trading this. Does have heal available, and they're going for it. Shield goes out once again. Big damage, though. Ardently might get tagged. Burns the heal. And that is going to be the trade, actually. Shyvana steps up and says, nah, playtime's over.
Oh my god. So many shields in this bot lane, and this is why playing... Wait, Wily... Oh, no. Oh, no.
Can you say pain? We are seeing some definite differences coming out in both the top and bot lane, going heavily in favor of PRS, I believe. No, my brain I think is MCE are winning the bot lane, whereas top side going in favor of PRS. Like,
yeah, it's very polarized so far with how the map is going, with 2 kills onto the Renekton, but in this bottom side, you're definitely very happy with where the Kai'Sa is. And even at that moment where you were able to crash that bot wave into the tower, get them to back off, which is a small victory for this double enchanter bot lane. At least Shyvana was able to capitalize on just being able to get a bunch of EXP in that bot lane and hopefully get to level 6 at a respectable time.
One can only hope that you hit level 6 after a lot of those engages, and we'll have to keep eyes because Flay so far has done very well with Ardently. Top lane though, Wily, just the wave so far has not been in his favor as he is getting chunked out every 3 seconds.
He could be dead.
Yeah, he could be dead again. He's trying to take these trades, and I don't think that's what he wants to do. Kalandini is doing very well to clear out these waves.
George is here.
George is here. A little bit of a tag. Flay takes an empowered Q to the face, and the root doesn't hold. So just a little bit of a greeting going that way as Fly sends one of his own Stevenator, though, getting a lot of good auto attacks down. This action across the map. Fly forced to flash this time.
Yeah, and now Kalandini level 6, he could just dive just by himself.
Yeah, I think he's waiting, wants it, and there it is, just
oh my,
stun kill. Bottom lane now. CBC trying his best as well, but gets rooted, and this is actually very, very dangerous. Remember, he doesn't have flash. CBC steps up just a little bit too close and pays a heavy price. Might have actually gotten his ADC caught as well. The axe catches the last hook, and Flay is gonna fall. Triple kill for the Olaf here at the beginning of the game, and all of a sudden PRS showing off why they are 2-0 in the league right now.
It's a triple on the board as we see Kalandini. He's got 3 kills to his name, and on the flip side, it looks like we're gonna have Mr. King of the Jungle Tarzan himself because he's also now 3-1 in this bottom lane. And while we did see the Shyvana hit level 6 very early on, and that's really all you can ask for as the Shyvana, her first gank attempt did not go well, as after you use that ultimate, you've got nowhere to go. And yeah, if you're too far in, you are definitely too far in.
It's like when people were starting to touch on Graves. I feel like there was that point where it was just pain, but Play watches as his laner hits that shockwave. Fly zips right back with the portal and the steal. That came out of no. CBC takes the Drake and George just dies.
Yeah, I think actually CBC started the dragon. So I think it was George trying to go ahead and snag it away, but unable to do so. And now all of a sudden, the Enchanter bot is starting to show its worth. You start getting those heals and shields churning. And then as the Kaisa, you understand that it's not very fun anymore. As more trading happening in the top side. Wily, you can't trade anymore. I don't know when you could trade, but it's not anymore.
First solo lane death, shame on me. Second one is just pain in there. Third one might be a little bit dangerous, and that could happen here, but top lane Fly said, hello, this is a problem? What? Things are falling apart very, very quickly without it meaning to, and they run straight into a level 6 here on the bot side. Ardently eats the Encore to the face. He has dropped down to about 300 health, past burn the heal. Stevenator, though, is coming around, so that forces the flash from Trollface. They're fighting this jungle fight as best they can, 2-on-2 now. Hook lands
no shockwave
again. That's going to be a very simple kill. Wubsy and Stevenator, the last one's now going to duke it out. I think the auto attacks of Orianna will be a little bit stronger. No mana, though, as a double root. Well timed from Wubsy to take and make that jungle invade 1-for-1.
Yeah, able to get out of that situation is really nicely done from Wubsy, but unfortunately having to burn all your summoners in that bottom lane does make it a little bit more difficult now that the Kaisa is level 6. Of course, Kaisa really needs that 2-item spike here before she really starts taking over the game, and that's when you start being a little bit more careful if you are the Karma and the Seraphim. But at this point, right now, you're definitely very happy. And now this is the top lane tower gone, and Wily most likely also gone.
Well, bottom lane's gone as Trollface finds his second death of the game. Korn has to get the heck out. Flash over the wall to follow. But this is not an AP Shyvana. This is an AD. Able to stay alive for a little bit longer, but a very nice sight from Fly means that Wily has to get away. First time doesn't work, second time is a charm.
Yeah, and I mean, to be honest here, I don't really know what the AP or AD is better at the moment. Haven't really played a whole lot of it myself. The AP was fun for a time, and now Wubsy, he gets hooked up.
Oh, and Ardently responds back. Very nice tag with the passive. It's going to lay down damage. So this game feels a lot more chaotic than game number 1. We're seeing a lot of picks left and right, and a lot of I almost want to say silly or unforced kills coming through. Namely, Fly going to the top side, bottom lane a couple hooks. I mean, is this a sign of the game kind of unraveling at it seems, or is this just the teams trying to over-aggress? Well, now I gave you a question, can't really let you have an answer, as Fly is forced to burn his actual flash here in that mid lane. This time, CBC also running away. Axe misses as George saves his mid laner.
Yeah, and to answer your question, I think CBC just answered it for you. It is all-out chaos. They want to just keep brawling here. And to be honest, I'm a little bit surprised. If this was AP Shyvana, yes, it kind of works out in that favor because you're able to get more Dark Harvest stacks, which is exactly what AP Shyvana needs to really snowball into the mid and late game. For the side of Meme City in general, you want to have the top half stay mostly quiet and really ramp up aggression bot side. And that's what they've tried to do with the hooks from Flay. As we get to see a income checkpoint here. That top lane is destruction? Massacre? Slaughter?
It's that is pain is what that is. Almost a 3k difference. I think 2.5 in the Renekton's pocket, who also already has the drinker, but that's going to be a huge charm. Very nice slash out of Steven Nader. He is going to have to run. The Ragnarok has been popped. Dragon, though, taken away. That's all that they wanted on the side of MCE, and they're just going to go all the way in. That's going to be the ultimate used by Sound, and the split fight is their Flay. Landing the hook as he wants on Kalandini, and they're drawing it back, but look at the health bars. Very, very low. Shockwave only lands on one on Wubsy, and the kills go through. Killer Instinct drags one out. The Undying Rage from Wildly trying to pick up another. And then all the chaos. Dragon goes the way of MCE, but a couple kills go back and forth as teams are jostling for control of this game.
And MCE being able to secure that second dragon is going to be really big for the Shyvana. And the Shyvana being really huge here could be a big breaking point for the side of MCU when it comes to being able to hold on to this game towards the later stages here, because again, while the Orianna is going to be okay here, a lot of this composition is focused on running forward and leaving behind the Orianna, and it feels very similar to game number 1, where the Senna was kind of left to her own devices. The Orianna was kind of left to her own devices here, but because the other squad ran too far, the Orianna was able to find value. That won't necessarily be the case this time around.
Definitely won't, as Wily, he has been picked on and shut down here so much. And that's going to be a jump in, as a 2-on-1 means that George is not the king anymore. Roloff goes down, and that is going to be a landing. Oh my gosh, that poor... What? I forgot she could do that. Fly decides to pop a surprise over that wall.
Yeah, I'm surprised he didn't actually bring a Paddle Star with him. But he's looks... It hasn't quite reflected in the scoreline, but he has been very annoying in this game, jumping over walls, being frustrating, and once he's able to actually get that first item, go into that second item, that's when things really become even more frustrating here. But now first Moonstone coming in for the Seraphine. Should be very close to that second one, and this is where, if you are the side of PRS, this is where your composition really makes its mark.
Yeah, try and get steamrolling a little bit. Again, you are on the timer, right? Yes, your Renekton is very strong. He is 4-0-1. He will have that advantage for quite some time. But he is still a champion that does very slightly fall off later. If Sion can get a little bit more tanky, if he is able to start getting his items like he wants, he will be a menace and a threat to anyone that is trying to fight him. Has been taken. George takes that Rift Herald, is going to be dropping that in a singular, in a singular lane, while Ardently and Flay are trying to pressure down for some free gold off these towers.
Yeah, and here, while a lot of the pieces end up outscaling. Oh, Cornball. Ooh, that is pumping damage.
Oh, wait, but that is a very nice chain CC.
Teleport coming in behind them.
Down goes the Shyvana, and the teleport hasn't stopped. Flay was actually possibly going to use that to get out, but the trades are enough. Ardently has to watch as his support falls. Nice TP stop, but an unfortunate set of deaths. Oh, it's good Sleepy Trouble will fly with the long-range snipe over the wall. That is going to allow a very easy mid lane push as 5 members strong with Herald, meaning that PRS get a lot of gold.
Yeah, and the thing with, you mentioned that the Renekton is going to slow down, and yeah, he definitely slows down here when it comes to hitting in mid and late game. However, with how far behind the Scion is, I'm not sure if he's going to get to that break point because of the fact that he's building a lot of armor, but right now the damage sets are slowly going to move more towards those magic damage dealers like the Zoe, like the Seraphine, like the Karma, who are going to be able to slowly whittle you down from range.
Yeah, just constant poke, constant rain of damage. And you have to weather the storm, have to be able to draw yourself
We're
back.
in trouble.
That was a huge problem as George is spotted once again, and this time he's alone. This time CBC has his team with him, but they're getting collapsed on the backline. They take one, and over the wall goes CBC. He says, let's fight this out. That's going to be the Renekton trying to find the Orianna and can't find purchase. That's Shockwave drives him right back in. Fly trying his best to hold off, but this is looking like a win for Meme City Esports. They found a couple kills that they want.
Wait,
that's going to be the Seraphine snapping up a kill on the backline with a very, very nice set of passive attacks. Wubsy ready to go with the damages, as an overall 3 for 2 means the fight is seemingly ended. Trollface and Wubsy want to run interference. They don't want to give this dragon over. The powered Q over the wall. That's going to be the hook, though. It lands. They found Wubsy, and he has to flash his way back out. Dragon, they want to try and finish it off as fast as they can. They do get it. So no matter what, this is going to be considered worth. And Wiley looks like he's going to be fed to the Wolves as Ardently pops a blast gun to safety.
Yeah, slowly going to be whittled down there. Still has a plenty of HP to be somewhat durable, but as we saw there, even split. Again, the composition from Meme City, they want these fights to be heavily split because then you're not having that 5-man death ball value from the ultimate shield coming in from Karma, from just everything that Seraphine throws out there as well. That if you're able to split the fight and reduce their value, that's when that's the kind of fights that you are looking for. However, it's still win in favor of the side of Phoenix.
Still a win in favor, but Steve is
God.
on the receiving end of
God.
finding out. The team
They're
is in there, but
teleporting for
another
this.
fight breaks out. Big damage off on Fly. CBC showing off a bit. That's going to be the killer instinct, and he gets it ardently with the quick snipe. MCE say, this is our time. Shockwave lands on the George. That stuffs the backline engage, and now Wubsy, no flash, no nothing. Oh, that is such an unfortunate roam, resulting in 4 members dead. PRS get caught and leave Baron open for MCE.
Yeah, and it's just a really, really bad pathing there coming in the side of PRS. They go in for a jungle invade. They try and go for a pick, but they just don't keep track of teleport timers. And Wiley, he ends up just using his teleport, and all of a sudden you're in an odd man fight. You don't have that second bruiser to help defend the rest of your back line, and the back line just gets absolutely exploded as the Renekton, he's just left in this bottom side trying to take waves, and even then he wasn't able to get a whole lot out of it.
He pushed 3 waves and said, team, I don't think that's worth. Shutdowns across the board went over to MCE as well. They are happy with the amount of gold they've gotten thus far. They pick up the Baron. They have 2.5 minutes to do as they wish. And the gold lead finally turning in favor of them. They finally have a 1.7k lead for themselves. Question is, what can they do with the pressure that they have?
Yeah, and oh, that's a bubble onto a Thresh. While the side of PRS, this composition is still overall, as a 5v5 squad, better. However, it's such a fragile composition still. If they get picked off, they will die very, very quickly because of the power of the Kaisa, because of the Orianna Ball. So there is high execution here necessary from the side of PRS, as we are going to have most likely the big fight happening in about 100 seconds.
Yeah, and Fragile, I think, is probably the best way to put it, because they are walking on eggshells here. 22 minutes in, you thought you were ahead, but that last fight definitely proved that MCE can take it if you give them the slightest advantage. Your Olaf wasn't able to do much. The Renekton didn't get into the fight at all because he was on bot side. And if you're not careful, you don't have an ADC, you don't have that sustained damage in the back line, you have utility. You know, PRS, this upcoming Drake in a minute 15 is going to be the last one. Last time they got swept in the Dragons as well. What do you think they need to do to come back and secure an absolute control over this game?
They just have to be set up a minute before. And as we hit 1 minute before, you can clearly see they are not set up.
Not at all. Major wards littered throughout, deep into enemy territory. You can see it right there. Red buff stolen away by Ardently. So MCE are ready and waiting. Even worse still, this is a Mountain Soul on the table. We didn't even get to talk about it. With a triple AP comp coming out here, that is going to be devastating, as Wily has started to finish up its items. He's going for, he already got the
Sunfire Aegis.
Yeah, Sunfire Aegis, and then he looks like he's completing that. The Thornmail is coming out as well, so he's going to be just a super tanky boy.
Yeah, he's going to be tanky, but he's not going to have the extra magic resistance to deal with this composition. So this Mountain Soul is going to be really imperative for him to be able to stay tanky in these fights, as now this is going to be the Hail Mary. They have to find the steal, and it's not going to happen.
Not even close. They're so late on this fight, and that's going to be the Shockwave drawing it right back in. Encore swept through 3, but the backline damage from the Shyvana is just a little bit better. Yes, they found Ardently, but at what cost? George might be the second one to follow. CBC draws out Wubsy, and that is gonna be the Karma running for her life into enemy territory. MCE say thank you very much. We take the soul, we take the dragon, and we take the ensuing fight. Once again, MCE are ready and willing to take their 2-0.
Yeah, and it's definitely looking like that 2-0, as they absolutely take everything in that fight. They find the engage after the dragon, and after dragon goes down, like, the fact that PRS still take the fight really just means that they've run out of ideas. And they had Kalandini, they had George there, but even with all of those advantages, they aren't able to use the early game power that they were able to garner. And now against this Mountain Soul, it's almost impossible to get back into it because of how their damage profile is going to really, really slow down.
Yeah, I gotta agree with you there. And, you know, you mentioned it before, the preparation needed to try and come back in this game. PRS have slowly sank into what looks to be just absolute reactionary play, and this is the second one of it, as CBC is going to get rooted right outside of tower range, but just so tanky. The Shockwave, enough time to get the Shockwave in, and this is just going to be the rundown. Ardently throwing down the spikes, triple, I think a double kill, very sorry, as he's able to claim the kills while he throws down the ultimate as well and starts beefing up the tower. But man, after an ace, an immediate 4-kill response once again, MCE have all the freedom in the world.
Yeah, they certainly do, and it looks like they're going to try and end the game off of this push. Still 10 seconds left. Just kidding. They're going back. They're going to recall, and we're going to have one last dance at the Baron.
Yeah, I don't think it's as much as they can't, as they chose not to, right? I feel it's more along the lines of, hey, listen, we could have ended there. We could have ended at 26.5 minutes, but we felt it appropriate to take the necessary steps. You know, it's like that formal greeting to your doom. The difference here, though, Stevenator hasn't been able to recall, so he is very low on mana. He does have the blue buff, They're probably going to look, but another fight breaks out as soon as they get out of base. Oh, this is the Hail Mary that they're hoping for, but PRS are getting absolutely destroyed. That's going to be a slow once again, and E goes out empowered, and Killer Instinct ardently showing off this Kaisa possibly for the last time on this patch. Triple kill to knock out a 13-4-12 scoreline. MCE run train on this game and are happy to push into the enemy base. 30-17, 4 Dragons in the Soul, 55-45K. And that, I believe, is going to be a surrender as MCE take it 2-0.
Yeah, and what a statement game coming out from MCE with their new support, finalized at last, and he came in and made an absolute statement. You saw in game number 1, the Rel was impeccable. Game number 2, in a very skill-heavy matchup, was able to make it work. And for the side of MCE, I would definitely favor PRS's composition here because of the double enchanter and how much power they have in the mid game. But the side of PRS never took advantage of that mid game power. They even got a massive early game lead and didn't even flex, not even an ounce.
Yeah, and when they did try, it seemed to work, maybe 50% of the time. And it's rough, right? When you have these types of compositions, you feel that pressure, and it really showed, right? At the end, it was just a culmination of 3 team fights in a row that saw ace after ace after ace. And in the situations, you have to keep your calm. And unfortunately, PRS were not able to do that. However, a lot of great showings coming out, little things that came about that we can definitely look forward to. PRS are not out of this yet. They moved down to 2-1. MCE just tied basically with that section. So I think they're all in the race for, I think, second in the division currently. So we'll still be able to wait and see what they can do. However, I do want to ask you the all-important question, of course. This is the blanket unoriginal statement that always goes out. Nightstar, for the side of MCE, who every single one of them felt like they had a very impressive showing throughout the series. Who would you give your MVP award to and why?
Yeah, I mean, it has to be Flay. We touched on it in game number 1, and then while he didn't get his name called as much in game number 2, you still have to say the Thresh was really, really good. Made a big impact in the early game. Getting that early kill in that 2v2 lane really sets the tone, and that's what they were able to do. And I mean, honorable mention to CBC. However, the Shyvana just kind of, it felt like the Shyvana mostly existed in game number 2.
Yeah, until the late game, and then you're like, oh yeah, that's a great dragon that we're fighting there. Again, though, congratulations to Meme City Esports for taking the 2-0 win, moving up to 2-1. They will face off against some other opponents next week to see if they can continue their run. However, that will be it for us here on the desk for Upsurge Contenders League. My name is Orbital. I was joined here with Nightstar and Hypertension on the production. Thank you so much for tuning in, and have a good evening.